Hello, folks. Sorry we are about 5-10 minutes late, but we are here nonetheless. And as the thumbnail says, we're going to talk all about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or should it be called something else? Probably so. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about. I got several things to bring up that we could talk about. Bands that have never been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that I think probably should be. Bands that have made it in that are kind of questionable. It's quite something, really, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But anyway, if you want to join, the link is posted there in the comments. Feel free to hop in and let's talk about it. So first off, I'm going to bring up. Well, completely other channel. Yeah, for sure, man. Here we just talk nothing but rock and roll, metal, music. And still drink whiskey. So, yeah, that's the deal here. Doug H, cheers. And let's actually run through a little bit of chat, first of all. Pinch Hitter Whiskey Lounge, Jim saying, oh, I got thoughts. Oh, believe me, I do too. Lou in the house, cheers, brother. Richie Z, cheers, Sean and Whiskey Friends. Cheers to you, Richie Z. Good to see you here as well. JH, cheers to you. Also, please, Iron Maiden not in, but the B-52s are. Place is a joke. Indeed, it is. Also, found out this week doing my research on this ridiculous subject that also the Go-Go's are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Maiden is not. As are a ton of other bands that we will get to. There are tons of bands that I believe should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's very, very sad. Or just, maybe it's just the worst named thing ever. It should almost be like the anti-Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at this point. But yeah, so there is the link to join if you would like to join and talk about it. Mistake by the Lake is a good name. I love it, Peter White, for sure. William Reynolds, cheers, man. New Patreon tonight. Thank you again so much. Appreciate the support. And congrats on winning the samples. Yeah. Hopefully we can get some samples out to you that you love. So, yeah. What time is it? T- whenever it feels right. Oh, yeah. It's really the Pop Music Hall of Fame. Rock and roll just sounds better. Yeah. Or just like the Music Hall of Fame, because like there's everything. Hit that like, yes, for sure. Please do. That helps YouTube spread out this live stream so other people see it and hop in and talk about it and join the conversation. Northwest Bourbon, cheers, Mark. Good to see you, man. Cheers, buddy. I know you are a rock guy, so I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this as well. Jesus on the dashboard. So first off, actually, let me get my crap together here. First off, we're going to play a song by a band that is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That, probably should be. If you just give me a second here, I'm a little slow tonight because I, in full transparency, had to go check the plumbing while I was in between streams and then just rushed on to this because I was a few minutes late. But nonetheless, thank you, everybody, for hanging out tonight. Much appreciated. So now, as Peter White already alluded to, so this is a band that is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I would say most people would agree that they absolutely should be, but they are not. Why? No one knows. Communism. I don't know. I don't know what the reason is. You guys tell me. You guys tell me what you think the reason is that this band, this amazing band, Iron Maiden, is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here you go, though. To start the show out, I'm going to play The Trooper, probably one of Maiden's biggest songs. There you go. Enjoy. This song, not good enough for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Band's not rock, not country, definitely not pop. The Go-Go's are with this. Yeah, exactly, Richie C. Yeah, very sad. Brian, cheers, brother. Good to see you. And cheers, everybody.
You'll take my life, but I'll take yours too. You fire musket, but I'll run you through. So when you're waiting for the next attack,
I would agree, Brian.
You better stand, there's no turning back. The fuel sounds, the charge begins. But on this battlefield, no one wins.
Not a rock lobster. Fair point, Peter White. You know, it's not quite as good as rock lobster. What am I thinking? Oh, music's not all the way up. Let's fix that. Yeah, a good song for sure, but not as good as rock lobster. That's next level right there. You know, isn't that song basically just a meme at this point? I don't know. Anyway, also, what do we got in glass, folks? Let us know.
The horses with the very bring to run. The manual of the Russian guns. And as we race towards the human
How great is this song?
Fantastic. We have our bodies lay on the ground. And the Russians fire another round. We get so near, yet so far away.
Yeah, you know, we'll Cheers, Jake. Good to see you, man. All right, well, I'm not going to play the whole song as much as I would like to because I want to keep the show kind of rolling here. Yeah, so we'll keep the show moving. I think we all know the song quite well, though, I would imagine. The Trooper by Iron Maiden. A great song for sure. You know, the problem is that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has decided that this song is more worthy of being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame than any song by Iron Maiden. So here you go. This song, and with many other just, you know, classics by Missy Elliott, made it in this year. So enjoy what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has decided is the best of rock and roll. There you go. This is it right here. So already, I think pretty firmly not rock and roll. I don't even know what these sounds are that I'm hearing. Odd buzzing. A person talking over it.
Is it worth it?
But anyway, I can't really do a whole lot of that. So for those of you that don't know, Missy Elliott making it in this year. Yeah. But Iron Maiden, no. Iron Maiden did not make it, but Missy Elliott, definitely rock and roll. Iron Maiden, no. No for Iron Maiden. Thumbs up for Missy Elliott. Don't make me mute you. Okay, so let's that's where I was going to go next anyway, Richie C. So great segue there. So let's talk about the voting. So let me get the right one. This is the one I want. Okay, so let's change screens here. Stop that. Present this guy here. Okay, so this was the potential inductees this year. There are some groups, people, bands, whatever, that are certainly rock and roll. Yeah. And then there are a lot, I would say the majority actually, that are definitely not rock and roll.
And you know, I got no problem with Missy Elliott, but she doesn't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. No. I love Willie Nelson's awesome. Induct him as an influencer. Don't induct him as a performer. What are you fucking doing?
There you go. Brian saying Missy Misdemeanor Elliott definitely more rock and roll than Maiden. Yeah, it's not even close, right, Brian? Yeah. Just what? Oh, there you go. Got some Saffel going on. Good stuff, Jim.
Yeah. So, West. What the fuck?
Okay, so here's the thing, though. So at this point, I think trying to say that only rock and roll bands should make it in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is almost like a mute point. Like it's so we're so far beyond that whatever. Like it's not even the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anymore. It's just like an ill-named thing for music inductees. So let's just call it the Music Hall of Fame, right? Now, even with that said, I would still think that we're going for excellence. And I think if you're going for hip-hop acts, I think A Tribe Called Quest is a far better hip-hop group than Missy Elliott. I think by a long shot. I think lyrically they're much more interesting. Now, I still wouldn't love them to be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because they're not rock and roll. But if you're going to put hip-hop acts in, they should be excellent hip-hop acts. And I don't know if Missy Elliott is. But that's a whole other subject. Also, just on the hip-hop side of things, Eric B. and Rakim are also not in. Like, how did Missy get in before them? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, Rakim is, like, one of the most influential MCs of all time, and somehow Missy beats him in. Like, I just... like, it doesn't make sense in any kind of way. Like, even if you're accepting all music, it still doesn't make sense.
There are bands who've been eligible for 30 years who still haven't gotten inducted, who should be in there. It's stupid.
Exactly. So,
no Wu-Tang.
Yeah, Wu-Tang should definitely beat Missy in, for sure. Like, not even close. Wu-Tang, far more interesting to listen to. Yeah, so there's so many groups, and we're going to go through a whole list here in just a few. But so this was the ones to choose from this year. We had Kate Bush, Sheryl Crow, Missy Elliott, Iron Maiden, J Division, New Order, Cyndi Lauper, George Michael, Willie Nelson, Rage Against the Machine, Soundgarden, The Spinners, Tribe Called Quest, The White Stripes, and Warren. I don't even know who that person is. I don't care. Also, you're flipping me off for not caring who Warren Zevon is, huh?
It's shame. Also,
okay.
White Stripes. There's a good "I feel old" moment. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the fact that they're Yeah, so, all right, here we go. Two Tonight saying, Kate Bush and the Spinners, give me a break. So, remember the book 1984 and The Mystery of Love was the complete opposite? That's kind of what's happening.
Thank you.
Exactly. Werewolves of London.
Oh,
okay. All right, fine. Yeah, not really something I listen to a lot. I mean, I know who he is now, but yeah, I mean, not really my kind of rock and roll, but oh, fantastic.
He's not Mr. Great Job.
Cool.
He said, I have no problem with him getting inducted as like an early influence or something, but as a performer, no.
Yeah, I mean, so how the hell is Willie Nelson rock?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. I don't know who you're talking about. If you're talking about Zevon Jigs, yes. If you're talking about Willie, still yes.
Yeah, I mean, so he probably does. It's just it's not really my thing. But that aside, definitely rock and roll. Definitely rock and roll, so that's fine. All right, but now, okay, so I think Kate Bush, not for sure. Is Sheryl Crow rock and roll? I feel like she's not. It doesn't.
Sheryl Crow falls in this weird kind of no man's land. She started out as like indie rock / pop, and she's kind of migrated off into country, sort of.
Yeah, she's kind of like this pop, folk, country, rock blend. Yeah. I mean, he's literally 90 years old and still going. Yeah. I mean, so, like, I don't have a huge issue with Willie getting in. Because, I mean, he's got to be one of the more influential country artists of all time. Still not rock and roll, but, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with him getting in. Okay, so, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah, and Sheryl Crow, yet another Christ, I feel old moment.
So, for those of you that don't know, here's who got in from this list. Kate Bush, Sheryl Crow, Missy Elliott, George Michael, Willie Nelson, Rage Against the Machine, and the Spinners.
I think you can kind of make a case for George Michael, sort of.
I mean,
I wouldn't vote for him, but I can see where there's a case. I don't know about Thin Lizzy, Richie. I love Thin Lizzy, but I don't know that they're that they have a strong enough case to get in.
Well, I mean, they're definitely rock and roll.
Absolutely they are.
Yeah. Cheryl had one hit, but been around.
She definitely had more than one hit. It's just
she did. So actually, we looked it up. Because me and my dad, we were talking about this when I saw this news, and he's a big rock guy as well. She actually never had a number one hit. She's had several in the top 10. Hey, Brian, what's up, man? Cheers, brother.
What's going on, John?
Yeah, so Sheryl Crow had several in the top 10, but never a number one hit. At least not that we could find. But that aside, it's named wrong at this point. The thing is complete. Just rename it. Just freaking rename it, and then all us rock guys will stop giving you shit about it. Like,
just call it the Hall of Pretty Good.
Yeah, the Hall of some music that no one cares about.
Yeah,
right.
According to Billboard, she's got 0 number one hits, 4 top 10 hits, and she's had 19 songs total that charted on the Billboard charts. Which the closest she's come is number 2 with All I Want to Do.
So,
but again, I don't think number one hits is an end all be all criteria for getting in.
No, I mean, so when I was comparing, so Maiden is the standard in this group.
Oh, they got screwed.
Like, I mean, to me, there's no one on this list, and there's several acts that I really love on this list, but no one is in the same realm as Maiden. To me, no. I mean, Maiden is still selling out arenas. Like,
they're the only true rock and roll band on that list.
Well, I mean, I think Soundgarden is definitely.
You know what? I just saw Soundgarden.
Yeah, and rock. I mean, White Stripes is rock and roll.
White Stripes is rock and roll.
I don't love them, but they're rock and roll.
Rage.
Yeah, but that aside, none of those are nearly as big as Maiden. Like, it's not even. No. So what? Maiden is 100+ million albums sold, still selling out arenas. There's nobody on this list that's doing that. Now, granted, some of them are dead.
Soundgarden might be if Chris Cornell was alive.
Yeah, that's true.
They also fly to their own concerts.
Yes,
which is badass.
Right. This is a fact. It's and so here's the thing. So Richie Z brought up the whole voting thing. What's really weird is that Maiden was 4th, like on the fan voting. They were 4th in votes. So by all accounts, they should have been in. And Soundgarden was 5th, just by the way. So according to fan votes, both of those bands should have been inducted this year. But Rock and Roll Hall of Fame people said, nope, we know better. And so then we got the Spinners and Sheryl Crow and Kate Bush.
Because it doesn't check the right boxes, Sean.
And Missy Elliott. So apparently there's a box that says, are you a woman? That's definitely a box. And then black woman, extra points. And then 100%. Also, now here's the thing. The Spinners actually were a pretty influential band back in the day. Mm-hmm. And actually, I mean, they're a great band. It's just like you said, Brian, it's like, how many boxes do you check?
Yeah,
and then
right. And the problem is when you get into this checking the boxes thing, you call into question all of it. And so now not only are you kind of taking away from, okay, Iron Maiden's a band that should be there. I don't think anybody can make the argument they shouldn't be. So you've got Iron Maiden, you're taking away from them because they should be there. And you are also now diminishing other people who you are putting in there, because it's very clear that Iron Maiden should be there ahead of them. So you are now like diminishing their entry as well. And so when you think you're like, oh, we're checking these boxes and we're making sure people are represented. That's all fine and good, but you are making it so that it's very obvious the reason you're doing it, and it takes away the merit part of it, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, the thing to keep in mind with the fan vote is the way they've been doing it is the top vote getter gets in. Now, is that the way it should be done? That's an entirely different discussion. But consistently, whoever the top vote getter is on the fan vote gets in. This year, it was George Michael.
But, okay, so let's talk about how the fan vote is even made up, though. I mean, so the fan vote is made up of people that you first have to vote for this band to even be part of the fan vote. So, I mean, these are the most popular groups, bands, artists from what the fans have put in already. And then the top of the fan vote is even the most popular of that. So, I mean, it's like this is what the people are picking. And then the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame says, no, we don't want that, basically. And they do this every year. Because, I mean, basically what I get from that is that they're saying, no, we know what real music is and you don't. And so that's like, it's like this elitist kind of thing. Like, no, we know what good music is and you guys don't know.
Right. And it's just, I think it's also you're right about it's totally elitist. And it's also so that when they go to their parties with each other, they can all pat themselves on the back.
Oh, yeah.
Because they, whatever, they have this idea that like this is, the right thing to do. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that.
Either that or they're just all trolling us and they're like, hey, guys, we got Missy Elliott in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. Did you guys see that shit?
I mean, can you believe we did that?
It was pretty epic, right, guys?
Yeah. Right.
A lot of it comes down to who's on the committee. I mean, the reason that there are still a ton of rock bands who are on the outside looking in is because for years Jan Wenner, who was the publisher of Rolling Stone, was on the voting committee, and he did not like prog rock, so he did all he could to keep them out. I mean, King Crimson not in. It took the Moody Blues 30 years to finally get in. It's like, come on.
Well, I mean, so let's get to some comments because Todd made some good points here as well. So Kate Bush gets in, but Foreigner, Ozzy, and the fact that Ozzy on his own is not in is absolutely absurd.
I don't know. Does he have a strong enough case on his own? I know he's in with Sabbath, and there's no arguing that.
But yeah, I mean, so Ozzy solo has outsold Sabbath.
That's wild.
By a large margin. It's like not close at all.
That's a stick in Dio's eye.
So I mean, like the fact that he's not in. I mean, and who has he not influenced? I mean, like,
right? He was a legend. Like, think back to like I'm assuming, Sean, you actually are probably younger than me. I'm 48.
Shut up, Ben.
But like, I'm thinking like when I was in high school, that guy was a legend. Yeah, like everybody was like afraid of him, but loved him. Like he was Satan incarnate, and he was like all over the place. I don't know, man. Ozzy should be there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like,
all right, comment.
And Maiden, and then Bad Company too. Like Bad Company is just like quintessential rock and roll. I mean, like you can't be like more down the center rock and roll than Bad Company in my mind. And like for them to not be in, I mean, they have so many hits. Like, I mean, 2-90, they played a bunch of Bad Company a few weeks back. I forgot how many hits Bad Company has. There's a ton of them.
Yeah. I think Foreigner and Bad Company are stuck in the same snare together, and that's that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has not been kind to arena rock.
Yeah, fair.
I think Mark's right. Mark said, call it the Music Hall of Fame. And Chuck Man. Hey, listen, Chuck Man Jones, a Western New Yorker from Rochester, baby. Feels So Good is my jam.
Also famous for being on King of the Hill.
God, agreed.
Yeah, anybody on King of the Hill should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Agreed. Chuck Man Jones again. Next you know they're inducting Kenny G.
Let's see here. What else we got?
They're not Richie's.
Not rock and roll. Yeah, so many of these are not rock and roll.
Yeah.
Maiden should definitely be in. I mean, it's absurd that they're not. I mean, I cannot think of a bigger new wave of British heavy metal band than Maiden. I mean, Priest is up there, but they're not as big as Maiden.
Yeah, and Priest finally got in, so you would think that Priest would have kicked the doors open for some of these other bands, but apparently not quite.
Even Priest took what, 5 tries?
Yeah, Priest took an absurd amount of time to get in themselves.
5 tries. Yeah, I mean, and Priest has been around since the 70s. Like, it's just, yeah, it's so.
I'm pretty sure Greg Allman's in with the Allman Brothers band, Peter White. I don't think he's on his own, and I really don't think he's got a strong enough case on his own. with the Allman Brothers, sure, on his own? No. He got like 1 hit.
Yeah, but I mean, like tons of session work. I think Greg Allman has a stronger case than you might think. I mean, as far as hits, sure, but I mean, just like influence on music and session work and
again,
songwriting and
the categories like as an influencer, fine. As a performer, no.
Yeah,
but the Allman Brothers, fine.
Maiden and Rage over everybody on this list. Really, over Soundgarden. Okay, that's.
The only thing I can say for Warren Zevon is that was a really cruel thing to do with fans because they've been pushing to get him in for years, since he died in 2003, and this is the closest they've got. So that was a real salt in the wound thing to do to them. Speaking as one.
Yeah,
but
so
I never thought he had a chance to get in anyway. I love the guy, but I don't think his case is that strong.
Yeah. I kind of agree. Like, I mean, I kind of, like, as you saw, I'd kind of forgotten who he was. Because I just don't ever listen to him. So Todd here saying, I'd never heard of Kate Bush or the Spinners until this year's announcement. Yeah, I mean, literally. Okay, so I knew who the Spinners were, but I totally forgot who Kate Bush was. So when I saw the announcement, I was like, who the hell is this chick? So I had to look her up. It's like pop disco stuff. Like, it's not
running up that hill, baby.
How did she get nominated?
Yeah.
I only knew Kate Bush because my sisters are older and they were into like new wave, alternative 80s, and so I knew of her.
Exactly.
I don't mind Kate Bush.
Pretty much.
There's no way I would put her in the Hot Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, though.
I think she is.
This is my speculation. There was a Kate Bush song that was in Stranger Things.
Yes.
And that song blew up because of Stranger Things, and I think that's the only reason that she got put on the list this year.
Yeah, Marianne Fabiano just said the same thing in the chat, and I'm sure that had something to do with it.
Yep. Yeah, that's my wife. She's actually yelling upstairs. She said, I just said that. Yeah, she's...
yes. Madonna's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and no, she shouldn't be there.
Can you picture these hipsters sitting around a table being like, ooh, the kids like that Stranger Things song. Let's put her in.
Yeah, that's a dumb reason to put somebody in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, okay, so you because just because you had a song on a hit TV show, now you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, William Reynolds. Yeah, Motorhead is not in. Motorhead's not in.
100%.
A freaking travesty. Like, Motorhead is so freaking rock and roll. Like, I can't think of a more rock and roll band than Motorhead.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's just it's
anyway. I got another one. Dio is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Dio is not.
What the hell?
It hurts my heart, man.
Like, what's more rock and roll than Lemmy and Dio?
I don't think you get more rock and roll than that,
right? And Bruce Dickinson, and that's like the holy trinity of rock and roll, and none of them are in the Hall of Fame. Come on.
So, I think Dio's got the stronger case there between his work with Rainbow, his solo work, and his work with Heaven and Hell. Don't get me wrong.
And Black Sabbath.
He's cool, but I don't see Motorhead ever getting in. I don't think their case is that strong. Maybe as an influencer, but as a performer, push.
I mean, so, Jim, because I'm a huge thrash metal guy, I mean, you know, I've watched dozens and dozens of interviews of thrash guys that cite Motorhead as like one of their biggest influences. So, I mean, I think for that fact alone, I mean, like the number of bands that they influence is huge. Yeah, so I mean, maybe it's not your favorite band, but like you cannot ignore like the influence that they
That's why I said as an influencer, because clearly they've been a huge influence on several generations of rock and metal bands, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be a huge part of the criteria. Like, if you've got bands who are like literally saying like this band was our influence, that should be a huge consideration, because a band
Fair enough.
spawning other bands and influencing other bands is one of the definitions of like what a Hall of Fame band should be, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So Corner Whiskey makes a great point here. I love the White Stripes, but they haven't been in the game half as long as Iron Maiden. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's my issue with a lot of the inductees this year. They just don't have like the historical significance that Maiden or a lot of bands that aren't in have. So yeah, I just
Yeah, what was it last year? The year before the Foo Fighters got in, and it was like, come on, wait your fucking turn.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like with sports, there's like this waiting period before you get into the Hall of Fame. It's like 5 years after you retire. So maybe there needs to be some kind of rule where it's like you have to no longer be active before you are considered for the Hall of Fame. I mean, then you wouldn't have bands like the Foo Fighters and the White Stripes even considered, because they're still out there touring and stuff. Let's let them finish their careers and see how it ends up before we decide. Yeah, let's put them in the water. Well, yeah, I guess White Stripes is not, but like maybe let's let these bands finish their career and see what their staying power is after they're done, and then see like, are they worthy of being a Hall of Fame type band, you know?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment, Brian. I mean, because you do that in pretty much all sports.
Yeah.
So kind of let them retire first,
right? Because with a band, with a musician, it's different than an athlete. With a musician, it's like, do they have staying power? Are people still listening to them after they're done, after they're not recording anymore? Like, and that to me is like the mark of a band that's probably worthy of this mantle. Yeah,
I would agree. So Northwest Bourbon Mark saying definitely Soundgarden over all of them. Now I don't know if I'd take them over Maiden, but I will say that Soundgarden is my favorite grunge band. Maybe that's a hot take. I think they're the best grunge band. Also, just my opinion. Over Alice in Chains, over Nirvana, all over all the grunge bands. I'm taking Soundgarden. Your Rubber Band Man is a great song for sure by the Spinners, but not really rock and roll at all. But so interesting question, Todd. Is the fan vote legit? I think it is. I think George Michael is very popular, even though not rock and roll and shouldn't be in, as Richie C pointed out. But he got a crap load of votes, like just a ridiculous. But I mean, he had one of the biggest pop albums of all time. I mean, Faith was a huge album. Not really my thing, but it was. I mean, it's up there with like Thriller and Janet Jackson. What is her album? I mean, it's one of the biggest pop albums of all time. It was massive. I didn't realize this, but I was listening to a guy earlier talking about the whole Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing. He had 6 #1 hits off that album. That's insane.
No kidding.
That's
damn.
Yeah. So, you got to give it to the guy. Not really my thing, but I mean, he was very popular. There's no doubt about it.
And that also has to be part of the consideration, because if you just went with good versus popular, it'd be a bunch of bands you never heard of, probably.
Yeah.
True. Like, so you have to consider, their popularity and sales and all that stuff, but a band like Maiden hits all those boxes, so there's no reason to keep them out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like I don't. There's no argument against Maiden. I don't know how.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the fact that they're not in is just totally stupid.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Can we be real here?
Yeah.
Sure, Lou. I believe you can be.
It's rock and roll.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just stop and end the conversation right there.
Yep.
It's rock and roll. Some stuff is not rock and roll. Missy Elliott is not rock and roll. Tupac, I would say rest in peace, but he's in the Caribbean. He's living a better life right now.
For sure. Absolutely. I agree.
I'm not telling y'all what to believe.
The Machiavelli theory, man.
Yeah, he's a great rapper. Maybe even better than Dave Chappelle's Dylon, the greatest rapper of all time. However, he is not rock and roll.
Freaking
So
shit.
like,
Nylon.
let's leave all this stuff out of there and focus on rock and roll. Like Chuck Mangione, yo, the truth. I'm all about that. Good music, not rock and roll. Tupac, great music, not rock and roll. Biggie, not as good as Tupac. Fuck y'all, don't care what y'all think. Still not rock and roll. It's
That's a
rock
hot
and
take.
roll.
I would agree.
It's not rock and roll.
Yeah. And I think you could make the argument for some guys, like you look at a guy like Elvis and even Johnny Cash, like those guys were kind of on the cusp of rock and roll. So I think they're legit. But there's some, I mean, you're right. Like that stuff you're naming, it's just not rock and roll. It's not even an offshoot of rock and roll. It's a totally different animal. So I think you're absolutely right about that. There's some people they're putting in here. It's like, it's not really rock and roll, is it, guys?
Yeah, I mean,
so that's a very good point to make. Is that you have cats like Elvis and Johnny Cash and others that are on the cusp because they actually made contributions to that very specific style. But when you have something that is a completely different style, there's no contribution. There is no tangentiality. There is nothing that relates, and it ends up just being
I think that line is blurrier than you think. Look at Madonna.
I don't play lines. I don't play that game.
I was listening to a guy because I listen to music stuff more often than anything else, and he made the same case for the Spinners that that was at a time when it was kind of pre-rock and roll, and so there was a lot of this kind of influence from all different genres, and so there's a lot of R&B and blues in rock and roll, absolutely. I mean, so again, it's kind of those blurred lines, and so I have less issue with the Spinners being in than say Missy Elliott.
I agree with that
because like it's just. I mean, she's very firmly a hip hop artist. Like, there's no way you could confuse it with rock and roll. Yeah. So, or even like the roots of rock and roll. Yeah. It's just rename the damn thing. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Just rename it, and then all us rock guys will leave you alone. But until then, we're gonna keep giving you shit because you're calling it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you're letting hip hop artists and country artists and everything else in.
It's snubbing rock acts year after year after year. I mean, there were 3 categories that keep getting their teeth kicked in. One of them was metal. Actually, there's 4. If I think about it, metal, hair metal. I can name one hair metal band in there off the top of my head. Guns N' Roses. Nobody else.
Yeah.
Rock, and arena rock. All of them get their teeth kicked in by the rock and roll.
Motley Crue in?
No, they're actually permanently banned from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
So
I mean, it's kind of a joke, but I mean, they basically are.
But can you think of a more quintessential hair band, rock and roll band from the 80s than Motley Crue? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, and nobody was as big as the Crew back in the day.
All right, so I think 90's got a good point. I stand corrected. Def Leppard and Bon Jovi are both in, so point taken.
Bon Jovi.
My
wife likes Bon Jovi. Take a hike, Bon Jovi.
But, and Todd, you're not going to like this, and neither will Andy if he sees the replay. The reason they made it in is because they became pop acts. That's why they made it in. If
they're the softest of all hair metal bands, like that, that's why
Bon
they made
Jovi,
it.
yes, Def Leppard.
Oh, come on! Their new stuff is pretty poppy. Now you go back to High and Dry; they were more hair metal. But after Hysteria is, I mean, even Hysteria is pretty pop rock. So and Andy knows that we've had this conversation. So real quick, Richie, see, Metallica is in, but it took 130 million albums to get there. But
it took a while,
So I mean, there's only 3 metal bands in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame: Judas Priest, Black Sabbath, and Metallica. That's it. Which is sad. So, actually, let's get to let me run through a little bit of chat real fast, and then we'll get to the list. 43 different artists that have been snubbed here. That's what we're going to get into. Justice for Crea's rapper, fantastic, Lou.
Best of all time, brother.
Ozzy Solo is without question Hall of Fame. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Ozzy has had so many damn hits solo. It's ridiculous.
Freaking Bark at the Moon. Come on.
Yeah.
That's good
No
shit.
More Tears. Crazy Train. Over the Mountain. Mr. Crowley. Yeah, the list is
The whole
really
collection.
freaking long. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's had some of the greatest guitarists of all time with him.
Let's be honest here. We're all Swifties, but we can't deny that Ozzy Osbourne was the greatest in terms of rock and roll and metal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I don't even know if it's arguable. More success than he had with Black Sabbath. I mean, Ozzy as a solo artist more than Ozzy as being in Black Sabbath, I would say. Maybe, and that's me. 48, I grew up in the 80s, so I was probably, by the time I was really getting into music in the late 80s, early 90s, Ozzy was already gone from Black Sabbath. So that probably is part of why I have.
They only know Ozzy from like fucking reality TV. They don't know
that's true.
What he
that's
did,
true. They're like, Ozzy sang? Like, I didn't know that, but yeah.
I thought he was just Sharon's bitch.
Yeah, right. But I just see him as more successful as a solo artist than he ever was with Black Sabbath. But maybe I might be wrong about that, but that's how
You're not wrong. You're just old. It's facts, though.
I mean, so Brian, I'm kind of with you. I actually discovered Sabbath through Ozzy because, like yourself, I came to Ozzy first and then went back to Sabbath. Now, I mean, I had heard plenty of Sabbath songs, obviously, but didn't really get deep into Sabbath until I got like really heavy into metal in general. And Ozzy was certainly first before Sabbath. And many other bands as well. And so like now I appreciate Sabbath tremendously because of the historical significance. But even like early Sabbath was really more rock and roll most of the time. I mean, some of their stuff was metal, but I mean, a lot of it was just rock. I mean, it was kind of like doom rock or which I'm fine with. I don't have an issue with that, but it took them a while to really get truly metal. Jigs, no Blue Oyster Cult, no Jethro Tull. Lita Ford, I don't know if she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Hopefully not. Good Lord, if she is, just why?
Because of Kiss Me Deadly.
Yeah, exactly. It's the greatest metal song ever. It made that stupid list that I reviewed. Freaking Rolling Stone and your stupid list.
Wait, was that her or Wendy Williams that did the duet with Ozzy? That was her, right?
That was her, yeah. Close My Eyes Forever.
Which, by the way, is her best song. Like, far and away her best song.
I love that song. It is like one of my favorites. I don't care what anybody says. It's fucking great. It's amazing.
Yeah, that
a lot of junior high dances, slow dancing to that one, buddy.
If I close my eyes forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's terrible, but it's so good.
It is. It's cheesy as hell, but whatever. Yeah. Here's a good question, Sean. Madonna is Hall of Fame, but rock and roll, no clue if she's in.
That's the point I was trying to make, which is that if you actually look at her 80s output, it's more rock than you realize. Like, if you look at some of the session musicians that got pulled in for those songs, like on Like a Prayer, you got Guy Pratt, who was in Pink Floyd, on the bass on that song. So certainly her 80s output was, gives her some credit. Once you get beyond that, not so much.
And again, just rename the damn thing. Pop music or just the Music Hall of Fame. Either way. Either way, I'm fine with it. Just don't call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Because it's at this point, it's almost become the anti-Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Ace of Spades.
JH, 100%. What is rock and roll?
I meant Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I didn't type all that out.
Yeah,
I mean, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is actually the least rock and roll thing out there right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So
here, let's get into this list because I want to remind everyone of some of the acts that are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I'm just going to go grab a 4.
Okay. 43 hard rock and metal acts. Who had? I'm trying to read around my camera. Who deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? There we go. So let's get into it here. Of course, Motorhead This one really pisses me off because to me, there's just like I can't think of any band that's more rock and roll than freaking Motorhead. Yeah, like what the hell? Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's not the way
I'm not a Motorhead fan, but I appreciate their style and I respect what they do. Like they're definitely rock and roll. They have the metal elements to them. I don't have to like their style, but they're fucking there.
Yeah.
Like
why was Yanni not
Shania Twain? Like let's not put her in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How about we let Motorhead in first?
Shania Twain's definitely going to beat Motorhead in. I have no doubt about that.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, she's hot, but come on now.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, good Lord, she was a freaking smoke show, but holy hell. But still, not a good reason to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And also, yeah, let's throw Yanni in the mix. Why
Yanni, yo, bro, good
Yanni.
choice, man. That's a good one to throw out there. Respect.
At least Weird Al, you can make an argument for it. Yanni? Good God, fuck off.
Yeah, man. So thank you, Richie Z. Scorpions, one of my favorite bands of all time. Not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Definitely Scorpions.
They'll definitely be in the Karaoke Hall of Fame.
That's a good point, Dan.
You know what, Lou? Screw you.
What? They are the greatest band to cover when you're in a karaoke bar in fucking Japan. It's amazing.
I mean, except for very few people can actually sing like the lead singer.
It doesn't matter how you sing. It matters how drunk you are and how intense you are about trying to recreate the Scorpions. And that's facts right there.
How hard you're feeling those Winds of Change lyrics.
Yes.
Yeah, so my favorite Scorpion song is what the hell is it?
Rocky Like a
He's
Hurricane.
working pretty good here. Damn it. Whatever. We'll just move along. My brain's not going to suddenly start working. So,
Like you working like a hurricane, winds of change.
no.
You're already wrong, Sean.
It's a ballad, but I can't think of the.
It's the wrong one.
It's the wrong one. Anyway, of course, Maiden. We've discussed them at length already, so we all know the deal. Yeah, just stupid at this point that Maiden's not in. Living Color, fantastic group. I don't know if they have the prowess to be in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like compared to other bands that aren't in. But I love Living Color. It's a great group.
I feel like
that guy second from the left invented the electric guitar. You didn't know that. We're just bringing you true facts here right now.
Okay, good to know. The electric. Friggin' Pantera, hell yeah. Now they're kind of newer, so there's a lot of other bands I'd like to see get in first. But Pantera, huge fan.
If you haven't seen Pantera on VHS, you haven't seen Pantera. That's the realest right there.
There you go. So answering your question, no, Peter White, Pantera is not in. Neither is Slayer. Slayer is not in either. We're going to get to them in a second. Bon Jovi definitely in because they're a pop act. Just rename it Influential Artists of the Time. Yeah, there you go. Motley Crue is the Pete Rose Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
They're all going to have to die, and then they'll get a posthumous entry into the Hall of Fame.
For sure, Brian. Yeah, I mean, they really are almost banned from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame due to their antics and just also,
banned from performance venues.
Yeah, I mean, also like Nikki and Tommy have both said some things about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, it's just they don't have a great relationship, let's say. There we go. Garbage. This one was a weird entry to me. I don't really think of them as being worthy of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I like them as like a fringe group. I dig them, but it's not fucking rock and roll. They're definitely on the different side of shit. I mean, like for example, I like the symphonic metal. Like I'll get into like Nightwish and a bunch of other shit. But that is
They
not rock
haven't
and
even
roll.
had any top
That's
10 hits
standard.
on the Billboard Hot 100. That's a real weak entry right
Yeah,
there.
I mean,
I'll
like
tell you
I don't mind garbage, and I would consider them rock and roll. It's just that
Yeah.
I don't think that they were that big to need a nomination. But
I was a huge Garbage fan in college, and Shirley Manson was smoking hot in the 90s.
Yeah,
You
But I
was,
would not
without a
put them
doubt.
in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Usually do.
they will never rename it because the term rock and roll was said in the radio in Cleveland for the first time. The only reason it's okay, fine. Although still screw them straight to hell. But in their stupid naming. Yeah, I mean
They've been in for a long time.
Yeah, CCR is in. Thank God. Like if they weren't,
Fogarty's not in as a solo act, but they've been in for years.
William Hall asked, "Is Duran Duran in?" I love
I
Duran
think
Duran.
they
I
are.
don't know if they're in. Are they?
they
Let me
might
double
be.
check that. I believe they are.
I'm
You
gonna
know,
check that right
I'm
now.
with you, Jakes. Let's throw Weird Al in. I would love to see Weird Al in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
The argument can be made.
They were
He's been
inducted last
super
year.
influential.
Yeah, and so Todd, to your point, I mean, Leopard is huge without a doubt. But I think if they had stayed, like if their sound hadn't changed and they stayed the way they sounded on High and Dry, I doubt they would have made it in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think they would be just like all the other bands we're talking about tonight that have not made it in. I have a Swiffer, but actually,
Duran Duran was inducted last year.
Yep.
They're in.
Is there a heavy metal? Maybe someone needs to make one. That's what I feel like. So yeah, me and my dad, we were talking about this because we were talking about the whole just travesty that is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And we said, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a privately owned thing. Someone needs to make an actual Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. For all the bands that actually need to get credit for being rock and roll bands. There's got to be some, billionaire out there that actually likes rock and roll, I would think. Somebody call up Elon Musk. I feel like he's the guy for this. I don't know. No. Jim's clapping his head
right now because he just said like this whole conversation doesn't even fucking mean anything.
Yeah, I think Dan has a fair point.
What is it about? Like it's like this shit doesn't need to be in rock and roll. It's not rock and roll. Why is it even an issue?
Yeah.
That's the truest comment right there of the night.
There you go. Yeah.
Barrel proof what, bro? What is that?
All right, let me put my hand.
Which one is that? Is that the new one?
When you get it close to the camera, Jim, it just blurs it out more somehow. Let me solo you.
Hang on.
Well, let me solo
That's a
you here.
badge.
That'll help.
There you go.
C920. Hey, that's the one that Shred is sending me. Awesome.
Yeah, I've had this one for a while. Yeah,
has anybody
mentioned it, and I was like, all right, let me get mine out.
Has anybody seen the B523 yet?
I have not.
Around them? No. I've seen a couple people review them, but I don't know if they got that like sense of them or if it's actually out and about. But I'd be interested to grab one. That A123 was great.
Mark in the Funky Bunch. There you go, William Hall. Garbage, no way. Yeah. I don't know if we ever got a. Hey, Sean Lacombe, what's up, man? The other Sean. The beautiful bastards. So this is another one that hurts me some. Megadeth not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but hey, pretty well established that metal bands just don't get in. There's 3 in total. So Alice in Chains not in.
Have they even
that one
yet? Jeez.
There you go.
Freaking Dio, man.
Dio. There is no reason for that man not to be in
Agreed.
the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
There you go. So back to the garbage Yeah, Shirley Manson.
Facts, JH. Facts.
Yeah. Freaking hot, but probably not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame worthy. But
no,
Dio Dio absolutely should be in, without a doubt. CCR is in for sure. And, and fair point, Dan, that, maybe we shouldn't bitch about it, but it's fun. So we're going to do it anyway.
So to give you an idea of Dio's reach, I've never been the biggest. I can't call myself the biggest, metal fan or even the biggest Black Sabbath fan. I knew Dio mostly from his work with Rainbow, and I can tell you where I was when I heard the news that he died, and I was like, "Damn, that sucks."
Yep.
Actually, from seeing interviews of Joe, I kind of agree with this.
That's an interesting thought.
Like he owns like more amps than any human I've ever known. Like the guy literally has a wall of amps. It's pretty damn insane.
And he does good fucking jazz too,
and blues, man.
Blues. Yeah. Him and was it Beth Hall or whatever the fuck her name is, or Beth whatever.
Beth Hart.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, man. I've seen him live. He kicks ass.
Oh, such good shit. So emotional, so like powerful. Still not rock and roll, but still amazing.
It's true. I mean, but so like blues being in, I have no issue with, because blues is like basically the groundwork for rock and roll.
No.
So yeah, rock and roll is supposed to be anti-establishment. Watching these guys put on suits and go play nice for the camera to get their award always feels gross. That's
wrong.
Fair. It's fair, Dan. Yeah, yeah.
You know what though?
When Metallica went against Napster, that crushed my soul. That was such a fucking horrible thing.
Napster bad.
I know I'm dating myself, but like that was like so bad. It's like
I remember that. Yeah,
out there as being anti-establishment, and you crushed like the first decentralized joint out there. Insane.
Cards is such a tool.
I think that's why Lou is still anti-Metallica.
Do you give them any kind of?
I just don't like some of the other stuff.
Do you give these guys any kind of pass? I mean, I know rock and roll is like anti-establishment, but do you give these guys any kind of pass when they've done it for 4 or 5 decades, and this is kind of the culminating? Like, I don't know. I would love to romanticize and be like, F the system and all this shit, but like, can you blame them for soaking it up after
it's not about
as long as they've been in the game?
It's about integrity. It's about integrity.
Okay, so Lou,
you go out there and you say that like you're anti-establishment and you want to do all that stuff. Like, I get that might be a time in your life when you feel that that's very important and go fight for that. And then like your life experience hits you with a lot of shit and everything changes. And now you want to change your view. But Metallica did it solely for the fucking money. They all the shit that they said they wanted to be about, and I don't want to single out Metallica as being the one wrong party in this, but a lot of cats they see the money, they see the fame, and then they release themselves from their obligation to adhere to their values, and then they just do whatever somebody else tells them.
Well, so here is my thought on that whole thing, and like just pirating music in general. I have no problem with artists being upset about that. Like, I think about like on a much smaller scale, like the amount of work that I put into Whiskey Wars. If someone like could pirate that and I never got paid for it, that shit would piss me off. So and like they're on a much bigger stage, putting in a lot more work, touring the world. And then if someone could just take that for free, I'd be kind of pissed. So like, I can't really be that mad at them about it. Now, you can say, well, now they're not being anti-establishment. To me, that's not the same thing. To me, like, I'm going back to my old days, and it's like, no, you're taking something that I work for. That's like a different thing than being anti-establishment. Like, you're taking money away from me. I'm not okay with that. You don't get to do that. So, like, because I've never let anybody do that, ever, in my life. Like, you don't get to take my money. So, except for the government, which I just do begrudgingly. But so, I mean, like, I don't think of as that being pro-establishment to say, don't take my money. I actually feel quite the opposite. Like, you know, it's like, no, you don't get to. I don't care who you are. You don't get to take what's mine. To me, that's more like that's more like the libertarian mindset. Like, you don't ever get to take my stuff. So
Yeah.
So that's the way that I've always looked at it. Now, I know it was like a huge thing, and like, you know, yeah. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm definitely with that. It's like if you create something and you put it out there, like that's a thing, and like what should be and what shouldn't be, that's kind of a different argument in my mind. But it's out there, and like the internet was a thing, and people were sharing stuff, and at that point, then it becomes, to me, the way I see it, that you have a group or a band or a person or an entity or whatever aligning themselves with forces that want to restrict that. And then at that point, now it's like, oh, okay, well, now you have to pay royalties, and these are conditions under which you do that. When, like anything, a lot of other things, you could go to a library, you could find information everywhere else, you can find music, and that's okay. But in this very specific case, now you have to pay somebody else money for it. And that's the part that kind of threw me for a loop there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. On Dan's comment, I really hope Zach doesn't show. Like you said, that'd be fantastic. And like, to his character, I feel like he won't. Like, I'd be really surprised if Zach shows for this crap. I would be truly amazed if I mean, because he's been so out of the public eye for so long. It would be really surprising if he shows up, but maybe he will. Anyway, let's get back to our list here of bands that have not made it in. Let's see here. We got Ozzy, which we've already talked about. Clearly should be in. Just, yeah. I mean, like Ozzy and Dio and Maiden, like those three to me are like, I mean, there's a lot of big names on this list, but in my mind, like those three, like just what the hell?
Right. But rest easy because Missy Elliott's in.
That's right. Yeah. Thank God. Thank God. She, I was holding my breath for the time that Missy Elliott would finally make it in. And then, of course, Soundgarden, fifth in the voting this year, but not good enough for the elitists at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Motley Crue, basically permanently banned.
I think they're too douchey to get in.
Yeah, I mean, as the little box here says, they basically have no interest. And that's really the nice way to put it, because they've actually said much less kind words than that. Scorpions,
there you go.
They should be in.
We talked about, definitely should be in. Let's see here. Going to get crunk on Scott's stream and hear that. All right, Sean, you go do that. Glitterizing prizes and endless compromises shatter. Hey, also cheers, Roscoe. Good to see you, man.
Got a little rush lyrics in here. Nice.
Yeah. Let's see here. I didn't read that with the right cadence actually, but we'll try again maybe.
You gotta go to a higher octave too. Geddy Lee was up there.
Yeah, I can't quite. I don't have the. Heavy metal was originally described as being an incredibly loud interpretation of the blues. Listen to early Sabbath and tell me that isn't a. Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like doomy blues, although blues is already kind of doomy to begin with. But let's see. Metallica was normal and they earned millions of dollars at some point and thought, I like this.
And apparently that was a crime because everyone hated them after that.
Yeah, it is odd.
Yo, Richie Z, that is the definition of normal. Absolutely.
Well, okay, I guess I'm not to that comment yet. I was like, did I misread that? Anyway,
I've never understood that. It was like, Mr. Puppets, yeah, Red and the Lightning, yeah, Black Album, fuck you.
Which is odd, because I think there's some great songs in the Black Album, but yeah,
Black Album's phenomenal.
So Dan's saying he has mixed thoughts about the Napster thing, but I'm positive Lars was just I mean, I actually do not doubt that at all. Like, I'm not, like, if Lars left the band tomorrow, I would have zero emotions about it. I've never needed Lars in Metallica, so it's just like we just kind of tolerate him. It's like, yeah, okay,
The poor man's
fine.
burden.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the fact that like Lars spearheaded the whole thing, I'm fine with it. Like it's just totally to his character. So yeah. Also, he's like the marketing genius of Metallica. Just like market ourselves everywhere all the time.
Yeah, Mr. Jiggs, you got a point. But on the other hand, if they don't put him into as a solo act after he dies, that would be remarkably on brand from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
It'd be so shitty though.
Because then he can't show up in person.
Just saying, it would be remarkably on brand for them. I watched how many bands have gotten inducted like just before one of the time to see one of their members die before the ceremony. It's just like, come on.
So I guess Sean is trying to make a case for Missy Elliott.
I totally forgot about that fucking song.
I mean, it's maybe her best, if that's whatever that means. Yeah.
Like, do you think these bands like think about Ozzy? Although I don't know how much he has still there. But Ozzy and Iron Maiden, like, do you think these guys would be gracious and like be so happy and thrilled about it, or do you think they'd be like at this point like F you guys?
No,
like, I feel like if I was Iron Maiden, I'd be like, we don't want it now.
Well, so Bruce has publicly spoken about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and how they're complete shit. Ozzy actually wrote them a letter and said, "Don't even waste the ink to induct us." Yeah. So neither none of them.
So they're over it.
Yeah, I mean, because they don't know.
Every single band who's done that, once they finally got in, they went, "All right, we'll show up."
Yeah. I wonder.
Yeah, that'd be great, Mark. It would be nice if. Yeah, it would be nice if they actually tried to get some rock and roll in there.
Mm.
Elmer James does not sound like Sabbath. Fair point, Peter White.
And Lars is in the chat. Oh joy!
Wait, Lars is here. Hey, Lars.
Lars Ulrich in the house.
Whacking sucks, Lars. Get out.
Solo work.
So what solo work? Haven't you farted on your drumsticks?
Hey, Lars. I actually have some of your juice, pun intended, right over here. Lars, how you doing, man? Good to see you again. We were just talking about your whole Napster debacle. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. So what were you thinking when you decided, let's take on Napster, let's go to court and all this stuff? I'd love to get your thoughts. What was going through your head? Did you think, this is going to lead to a shitstorm and people are going to hate me for the rest of my life? Or like, what were your thoughts? Let's get inside the mind of Lars Ulrich here.
Go ahead and hit that link, Lars. It's pinned at the top. We'd love to have
pop
you.
on, buddy. Let's have some live chat here. Anyway, well, I am thinking Black Eyed Peas should be in. Yeah, I mean, why not?
No.
I mean, at this point, everything is fine. Also, I want to highlight this comment again from Joe. This year, they voted me in. I definitely didn't show up. I didn't even sing or play an instrument. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame really confused me. Good stuff, Joe. Rock on, Lars. Is that you, Lars? Yeah. Lars, how's it going? In your giant mansion these days. It looks like Napster didn't hurt you a whole lot. You seem to be doing okay.
Real.
I told James. Okay. All right, let's get back to some artists that are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Lars, you are in, even though granted, not for your solo work. That's true.
I want to be clear. Just because I am bald, I am not Lars. No affiliation, no connection, nothing like that.
Yep. This is another one that I was like,
yeah.
I like Beck. I can see the argument, but again, as I said about the Foo Fighters, wait your fucking turn.
Yeah, I mean, I was in college when Beck kind of hit, and it's like, meh. Like,
yeah,
he was kind of unique and different and whatever, and he was entertaining, but Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like Beck or the Beatles,
like I said, wait your turn.
What songs did he have?
Yeah. Loser, and then Where It's At was a big one for him
Loser,
too.
Where It's At, Sea Change.
These are seminal rock and roll songs.
He was interesting. He was interesting, and he was kind of cool. But I mean, Hall of Fame worthy. Come on.
Yeah, well,
he's
Toenail Fungus is interesting.
He's no Babe Ruth. Let's say that.
Rock and roll.
Indeed.
Throwing it out there.
So now this band was mentioned earlier, Thin Lizzy. I would be fine to see them get in. Another band super influential to a lot of other bands. James Hetfield cites them all the time as a huge influence, as does many other metal groups. So I wouldn't have an issue. I don't know. I don't know if they're quite as big as some of the other artists that we've talked about that are not in. That would be my problem. It's I think there's a long list we need to get to first.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's they're on that list who definitely they should be in, but they're on that list of there's people ahead of you, but you'll get there.
Yeah, they need to get in line, kind of. Yeah.
Yep.
Styx. Oh, that's a good question.
They're not. Surprisingly, I would have figured they would have been in, but no.
Styx was a pretty prolific band. I mean,
yeah.
My sister was a huge Styx fan, and she had all their albums, and I remember they had a lot of great songs. Styx was pretty prolific. Tommy Shaw was a hell of a guitarist too.
For sure, man. There's so I was actually going to tackle a much larger list tonight, and I thought that would take way too long. So there was another list that was just updated 2 weeks ago. 143 artists that are not in the rock. And I was like, that's a little hefty to try and tackle in one night. So, so we went with the 43 instead, or whatever.
We got plenty of whiskey. We could have handled that.
Yeah, true. But by the end, I wouldn't be talking really in a way that anyone can understand. It would just kind of be gibberish.
I don't think ABBA's even been nominated a great shot, but let me Google that because knowing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
So Lars answering our Napster question here. I was yelling at James for working me up from my Napster. Kirk misinterpreted it.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Nice, Lars.
They were inducted in 2010.
So Thin Lizzy is rock and roll for sure. Yeah. Who was inducted in 2010?
ABBA.
ABBA is in?
Yep.
Oh, Jesus.
So here's the thing with a band like that. I feel like I can be objective. I really do enjoy ABBA. They've got it's poppy, fun music. It's fine.
Hey.
But what the hell? Why are they in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I could objectively say I enjoy them, but they are not Hall of Fame worthy. That makes no sense.
I enjoy the rest of the Old Dirty Bastard and Ghostface Killer, the whole Wu-Tang Clan in effect, but it's still not rock and roll. Just go throwing it out there. Great music, not rock and roll.
So Dan saying Thin Lizzy rules. Indeed, they do. Thin Lizzy is definitely in the top 5 bands that should be in. Yeah. I have no issue with Thin Lizzy being in. I think they definitely should be. I think there's a few bands I'd put in first. Me personally. But Thin Lizzy definitely in the running. I don't know if there is enough whiskey in the world to make me enjoy it.
Mr. Jiggs, I would challenge that.
Next one will make you enjoy it. It will help.
Mr. Jiggs, if you're out at the club and Dancing Queen comes out, you're hitting the floor, brother. I guarantee it.
No, I believe this is actually an old list because I feel like the B-52s are in now.
Let me look that up real fast.
Maybe not. Either way, should they be? Do we need Rock Lobster and Love Shack in the Hall of Fame? I feel like we don't need this.
Because of Love Shack, they should be in because they had a awesome. They were an alternative group who crossed over and had a great pop hit with Love Shack. That should make them be in the Hall of Fame. No way.
No, rock and roll.
Now, what do we think about Peter Frampton, guys? I'm personally...
That's an interesting one.
I am pro Peter Frampton being in.
Yeah, I agree.
I can see the argument, for sure.
Agreed,
but again, I feel like he's on that wait in line list. But I can definitely see the argument.
Yeah, I mean, I like
on the other
Peter
hand,
Frampton.
at least inducted before he dies. you gonna do?
Look at all these ABBA fans coming out of the woodwork here. JH, William Hall,
Whoop.
Deathless Dogs. Love it. I love it.
ABBA fans, run for the hills.
Dan, that might be the most ironic sentence ever uttered right there. It's good pop
Humble
music.
Pie is
but,
definitely not in JH, but that is a
fair
good
enough.
point.
Fair enough. All right.
He was in Humble Pie.
Yeah. So, Frampton not in. Having started with Humble Pie and heard Frampton emerge. Actually, is Humble Pie in? Maybe they are. No, they're not.
That's
Okay.
a good point. I forgot he was in Humble Pie. So yeah, he definitely deserves to be in again. Maybe he's near the top of the wait your turn list, but again, induct him before he fucking dies.
Well, I mean, and just like an influential guitarist, and like, I mean, there's so many different
That's
things.
a good point,
about-
Dan.
When you put them on the spectrum of, like, say, Taylor Swift and Pantera, how do you categorize Peter Frampton?
I'm with you, Deathless.
You can't appreciate.
I'm with you.
I mean, I guess, Dan. I suppose. Anyway, let's see here. Move it.
On there because
Tool, no way. No way for
Tool?
Tool. No way.
No, really, no way from Brian. Okay.
Nope.
I get a hard time with that one.
So I am a Tool fan, but you know, hey, it seems to be a very divisive group from people I've talked to. So like Todd and Andy hate Tool; they can't stand them.
Yeah.
Now, they mainly hate Tool though because of their live performances, which I kind of get that because Maynard is weird as hell. Yeah, I
My
don't know.
thing with Tool would be just like objectively, I don't hate Tool, but
No,
it's not the Hall of Really Good, it's the Hall of Fame.
I think Nine Inch Nails has a stronger argument than they do.
I would agree. I like Trent Reznor, like
Yeah.
I'm not even a
that
big
was
fan
like
of them, but it's a stronger argument there.
Yeah,
They're
I think
not rock and roll. Definitely
I mean,
not rock and roll. Good shit. Creative.
Yeah, I don't know if I put those. I don't know if I put those two in the same category, but yeah, I'm probably taking Nine Inch Nails first.
I think Nine Inch Nails was more impactful than Tool.
Yeah, I mean, so I like Tool,
that
but
is
again,
cool.
like this is another band that I think is like, you know, maybe eventually, but you're kind of down the list some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a problem with them getting in eventually, but like again, there's so many bands ahead of them. It's like you know, I like Tool, I think they're a great band, but there's like probably several dozens ahead of you. So
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah, so yeah. Tool will definitely make it in. Too many diehard fans. Yeah. Is Joe Cocker in? I feel like the answer is no on that.
He is not, and as I just said to Mr. Jakes, no, and that is a goddamn crime. You gotta be. Jeez.
Now, Dan's saying same song for 30 years. I guess he's talking about Tool. I don't know if that's really accurate, Dan, but I guess, you know, whatever. Hey, it's all right. Oh, rock on, brother. Same song. I mean, similar sound, I guess, but same song.
Next.
Foreigner. This is a band mentioned by Todd earlier. I gotta say, I'm not the biggest Foreigner fan, and this is another one that I feel like, you know, good band, solid rock and roll band for sure.
Yeah.
They should be in, and again, they're
Down the list.
filed under arena rock fuckery.
Yeah,
They should be in. There's no argument.
I think there was
a tough one.
Huge.
Sorry, go ahead, Sean.
no, I was just gonna say similar to Tool. I think there's a lot of bands ahead of them in my mind. I mean, like just on this list even. A lot of bands that we've kind of went through already that I think really deserve it far more than they do. But yeah, go ahead, Brian. What's your
And I was just gonna say, I think that some of these bands, like Foreigner, is like kind of one of those quintessential '80s like rock bands, right? And I think down the row here with these guys, I'm gonna assume we're all probably of the same generation.
Yeah.
And so I think for us, there's a little bit of nostalgia that factors into your judgment of these bands. Like, who didn't like dance to I Want to Know What Love Is at their like middle school or high school dance or whatever. You know what I mean? So
For sure.
all of that factors into it, and you're like, yeah, Foreigner was a great band, but objectively were they? I mean, you know, Lou Gramm had some pipes and could belt it out, but I don't know. I guess my answer on Foreigner is I don't know. Like they're one it's hard to tell.
I'm not sure how old Sean is, but I'm pretty sure I might be the youngest one here, not by a great deal. But
yeah, I think I'm older than you by like a couple months. I believe, Jim, because we've talked about this before. It's like
I'm
we're
40.
just a few. Yeah, we're both 40, but like you turned 40
Okay.
more recently than I turned 40.
So am I the elder statesman here? How old are you, Commander?
I'm not old.
I'll
I'll leave that to y'all.
I'm not old.
40.
Okay, fine, Lou.
I'm
just tend to skew old.
I'm 48, so I'm like the elder statesman
I'm
here.
43. We'll just throw a
Okay.
number in there, but yeah.
Okay.
Rock and Roll Hall of Strange tool would have been in the inaugural class.
So
Touche.
real quick, Delphus Dogs comedy, fantastic. Foreigner should get inducted by Carl from my 1500 report. That would be fantastic. I would,
You know it's for.
I would love for that to happen. Foreigner, some good songs, but a lot of BS. Yeah, so I kind of agree with that also. I mean, I like Foreigner okay. Again, I think there's just a really long list ahead of them in my mind, but I saw solid rock band.
Just by virtue of being an 80s band, you automatically, there's a lot of cheese injected into your catalog. It just came with the territory, you know.
I mean, I think it was always mandatory if you were rocking in the 80s, you had one rock ballad on your roster.
Right. The power ballad was there. Yeah. The soundtrack too was there.
Now Jake's asked, is T-Rex in? I believe that. I feel like I've seen them on a list of not inducted.
I'm leaning heavily towards not, but we'll look it up. I'd be
pretty sure they are not. Let's see here. If it were the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Hall of Strange, Tool would be okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
class of 2020, they're in.
Oh, T-Rex is in.
T-Rex is in.
Hey, how about that?
Got me. Shows you how much attention I've been paying.
Hey, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame did a thing right. Who would have thought?
ASMR, I'm class of 92, so I don't know if we're the same or not, but he thinks we graduated the same year. I'm 92.
Rothko saying Foreigner is still on the radio daily. Fair point, you know. So probably same generation, I think. There you go.
Yeah.
Foreigner is basically pop music with some cock rock sensibilities. They have some hits for sure. Yeah.
I mean, say what you will about Foreigner, but Lou Gramm could freaking belt it out.
Oh yeah.
Now here we go. Anthrax. I wish Stanley were here because it'd make this conversation so much more interesting. Stanley, like the biggest Anthrax fan I know.
About Anthrax.
But I think they are by far the weakest of the big four and one of the weakest thrash bands in my mind. There's so many thrash bands I would take over Anthrax. So them not being in doesn't really hurt me at all. It's they're fine. There's maybe 3 or 4 songs by them that I listen to semi regularly. It's kind of whatever. They're kind of in the same category I'd put garbage in, except for there's no smoking hot chick there. So
your cutting is long, family beard.
Oh, God, Shirley Manson. Oh my God.
Even Anthrax doesn't understand why they're in the big four.
Actually,
exactly.
9 Inch Nails is in class of 2020.
Okay.
Look at that. Hey.
I think that's deserved. I might be in the minority, but I think that's probably deserved.
Oh, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Also, class of 2020, Notorious B.I.G.
He was doing some pretty cutting edge stuff, Trent Reznor. So
I'm fine with Notorious B.I.G. being in just because of his influence on the hip hop world, I guess.
What the fuck? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Are you joking?
Dude, it's not. We've already established it's not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We all
Right.
know it's
Yeah,
not.
I know, but I mean, just like
It is a misnomer for sure.
It's an ill-named group
sir.
of
Proceed.
musicians that have been inducted into
Class of
something.
2020.
Okay. No, just no. And that's the Anthrax, I assume. Yeah, I have no problem with Anthrax not being in. Like, I know Loudwire is primarily a metal website, so I get that they had to throw that in there. But again, like Dan said, even Anthrax doesn't understand why they're in the Big Four. I never. So the Big Four is Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer, which all makes sense, and then Anthrax.
And they're like, why we just got
okay, sure, I guess.
All right, Mr. Jigs, I'm with you on the Smiths for sure. Look, alternative new wave music might not have been your guys' thing, but I grew up with it because I had older sisters who were really into it. The Smiths are 100% a hugely influential band and probably should be at least considered. But again, they're not rock and roll. Well, we've already established that we're not inducting just rock and roll bands here. The Smiths are probably the band of those ones that he listed that probably should be in there because they were a pretty big band in the 80s, new wave wise.
So, most of you know I'm a huge Typo fan, and Depeche Mode is kind of that similar feel. So I actually quite like Depeche Mode as well.
They were in class of 2020.
What's that?
They're in class of 2020.
Depeche Mode is in?
Yeah.
Hey, so class of 2020 sounds like it was actually a pretty good group.
This probably should be in, but just because of Morrissey's bullshit antics alone, they're never going to get in. I don't know enough about the Jesus and Mary chain to comment on them, so I'm going to leave them all on.
And Dan making another great point here. Nine Inch Nails went in 2020, and they did the performance with the Queens of Stone Age and Lindsey Buckingham. It actually rocked, so cut the broadcast early. Spot on, Hall of Fame. Keep on sucking.
We can't have this awesome performance going on for too long. Let's cut it off.
Medium ugly right there.
We're gonna cool. Cut the feed.
Bring some of that shit in.
Guys, there's a lot of rock and roll happening. What should we do? We need to cut the broadcast. Hopefully Lamb of God one day. That's never going to happen. I promise you. Lamb of God is never making it. In my mind, there's probably 24 metal bands that should make it before them, but Lamb of God, great. Cardi
B should definitely not make it.
Yeah.
Also, Lamb of God should definitely make it before Cardi B.
Also, maybe get hit by a semi. I don't know.
Fair enough.
No, we shouldn't wish death on people. I guess that's not a good thing to do.
Who's next on our list?
Right.
Is anybody making the case for Insane
and the Mary
Clown
Chain
Posse?
totally rocking and rolling? Huh? What was that, Brian?
I said, is anybody making the case for Insane Clown Posse?
Oh, fuck
that's a cult, bro.
No, probably.
How deep have you delved?
I don't know how many juggalos are out there still that are.
You think you got a lot of juggalos in your audience, Sean?
The day gets burned down within a minute.
Got to get that juggalo vote in. All right, next up we got Sonic Youth. I'm kind of
a good band, but again, this is another one that when I was in college, I really liked Sonic Youth, but objectively, I don't know if they're Hall of Fame worthy.
Who's Sonic Youth?
Yeah,
good band, not great.
They are all right.
Agreed.
The old dorks.
Nice.
Oh my God.
You're probably right, Dan. It probably would be pretty awesome.
Okay, that might be the only reason I let them in. I would pay to watch them freak out one with Fago. Fucking
friggin' Fago, Red Pop.
Yeah. It wouldn't be a bad show. I'd watch it. For sure. Like, I'm not gonna not watch it. So
I think I'd watch all the old crones have a heart attack. Well, what is this shit?
All right, Sonic Youth. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
kind of
That's a
whatever on
weird
them.
one.
What else we got here? Misfit. Now, I say absolutely yes.
Yes.
Um,
yes.
I can see it.
Because
So-
I mean, just the influence that they had is huge.
Yes. And I will tell you, like, so the Misfits are one of the few bands that have endured, and I'll give you a personal example. I am a Misfits fan from my youth. My daughter is 16, and the other day she gets in the car. She's starting to drive now, so she gets in the car and she plugs in her phone, and she just says to me, "Dad, have you ever heard of the Misfits?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so she like puts the Misfits on and the Apple CarPlay, and like we were like rocking out to the Misfits, and I'm just like, man, my kid is freaking cool. She likes the Misfits.
Nice.
So that is
Yeah, man.
like an enduring band right there, where a 16-year-old in 2023 is like, the Misfits are freaking awesome. So
Hell yeah.
I 100% with the Misfits.
Now, Dan is pretty anti-Metallica, but I'm going to highlight this comment anyway. The best thing that Metallica ever did was bring attention to the Misfits on a mainstream level, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. I got something to say. I raped your mother today. Doesn't matter much to me as long as she's bred. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, I would love to see. I mean, they're never going to make it. Like, do not hold your breath. The Misfits will never make it in. Like, I promise. If nothing else, just for that song I was just saying, they will never make it in for that song alone. Yeah.
Well,
like, there's no way, because like if they did induct them, you know they're gonna do that song just because fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's exactly the song they're gonna do, because it's like the most offensive song they could do.
And that's good enough.
Yeah.
Well, one of the cool things is I can go to my daughter. I say to my daughter, I'm like, okay, you hear this song? This is Danzig singing this song. Now let me play you some Danzig, like, you know, some of his solo stuff. And so it like opens up to so much stuff, and just like it's a really cool thing to like this stuff that I listened to in high school and college. And like, I've got a 16-year-old kid who's like, this is freaking cool stuff. And it like, to me, that's Hall of Fame worthy because it's endured through a generation of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love this comment from Jigs.
That
That is the one problem with Danzig, is he's kind of an ass.
He is.
Glenn
Fair
Danzig
point.
said he should be inducted for a solo work he did in Misfits. Yeah. Yeah, the guy is a real piece of work, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But I still love Misfits.
What a badass.
Yeah. He's like 5'2", but you know, he's got a huge ego.
Yeah.
So teaching
Thanks,
her
Mr.
well,
Grace.
Brian. That's right.
Thanks.
It would have to be the original Misfits, because Michael Graves is a total dunce. Fair enough. All right, moving along here. What else we got? Slayer. I mean, like, even though I'm not the biggest Slayer fan, like, I cannot ignore the huge influence they have had. Like, it's
right.
yeah. I mean, like the influence they've had on like extreme metal, death metal, like so many different genres. Like, Slayer basically laid down the foundation for what that would be. So even though
the answer here is wait your turn.
Yeah.
More
That's
metal
fair.
than Chuck Mangione. I'm gonna throw that out there.
it's fair, yeah.
I disagree. Chuck Mangione is metal as hell.
He's amazing. He's not metal like Slayer is, though. My opinion. Not
And in
that.
fairness,
Fair.
the flugelhorn is made from metal.
The biggest issue with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is they make some of these bands wait so long that you'll have Slayer, a bunch of 70-year-old. Slayer will end up being a bunch of 70-year-old dudes on stage playing the induction ceremony.
Yeah.
It's like, you couldn't do this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so at this point, like, they're all retired. I mean, like, they've all gone to other bands, like doing other stuff and session work and stuff.
Yeah, Slayer hung it up, didn't they?
Yeah, so like, yeah. Now this is my take. Even though I'm a bigger Megadeth fan than I am Slayer, I think Slayer is more influential than Megadeth is, because Megadeth to me
Yeah,
is such a similar sound to Metallica, because obviously, Dave came from Metallica.
Well, because Mustaine is kind of an ass.
created
He's less of an
Metallica?
ass than.
What's that, Jim?
I said, if only because Mustaine is kind of an ass. If he was less of an ass, then I would say the other way around. But because Mustaine has a habit of sticking his foot in his mouth,
There is that too.
I'll go with that.
But I mean, I love Dave. I mean, Dave is fantastic, even though he does do the foot and mouth thing a lot. Hey, cheers, great shot. Thanks for hanging out, brother.
Take it easy, great shot.
Yeah, I think Dan nailed it. Clay was in before Megadeth or Pantera, even though I like Pantera more.
I completely agree with that statement. And I love, same as you, I love Pantera and Megadeth more than Slayer. But I think that Slayer is more influential. So,
Jeez.
So me ugly.
Jesus. Do we have a Megadeth stand here? Is that what's happening?
Jeez.
I love this argument, though, honestly, JH, from Megadeth fans. Like,
okay, it's not an argument. JH is just presenting facts.
Look at
Mr.
Jake's comment. If these guys only rocked it hard like ABBA, they'd be in by now.
Hey, thank you for the reminder there, great shot. Fair point. Let's all have a sip of water, shall we?
Mugly's got an interesting comment, because now you're hitting those bands where it's like, ooh, now we have a real sticky argument here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, where was I? Yeah. Okay. Right.
Ugly.
So, real quick on the whole Mustaine, because I've heard this argument so many times. Like, it's completely silly. Unless you think that Kill 'Em All is the best Metallica album, which there's very few people I know that think that. There are some people, and they're delusional as hell. If you think that, then fair enough. Then Mustaine wrote all the best Metallica songs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have sense at all, then you know that the best Metallica songs are not on that album. And then Dave has very few credits at all, if any. I mean, there's some on Ride the Lightning, but not on the songs that matter. So yeah, I mean, Dave was a contribution in the beginning, but I still say, and my argument has always been that Wow Whiskey is working really well. Shit, bassist for Metallica that died in a bus crash. Kirk should have been top bunk, but he wasn't.
Oh God. Are we really going to go down this rabbit hole? Jesus.
Anyway, so give me a name, because my brain is doing nothing.
Cliff Burton.
Cliff, there you go.
I got nothing for you.
Yeah, Cliff was a bigger influence on Metallica than Dave ever was.
Let Dave be the Metallica guy.
Let's
the Megadeth guy.
Yeah.
Dave Mustaine was a bigger influence on music and metal and rock and roll than Cardi B ever will be.
Right.
Fair point.
Are you sure about that?
Fair point, Lou.
I am very sure, and I stand on what I say.
Yeah, and I think Dave, I mean, if he had an influence on Metallica, fine, but obviously his biggest influence has to do with Megadeth, so let that be his thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let Metallica's thing be their thing.
Yeah. I thought Metallica's thing was torturing every replacement they got for Cliff Burton until they left the band.
So, what's his name? Up here, Medium Ugly, Social D, NoFX, and Bad Religion. And I would say of that group, Bad Religion is probably one to consider.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting comment, just because now you're getting into those bands that are kind of a sticky argument. It's like,
yeah,
you can kind of see it, but you kind of can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're all great bands, but it's like,
and I like Social Distortion. I don't know if they're Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
But they're a good band.
And so the band on screen here, Smashing Pumpkins. A solid band for sure. I don't know.
I think
Like again, like there's such a long list in my mind that's ahead of them.
I think they get put with
Celine
garbage.
Dion, for example, the queen of fucking heavy metal and rock music.
Dion, yeah, for
Fucking
sure.
on the head of fucking Smashing Pumpkins.
You know,
I would put Smashing
Still Live in
Pumpkins
the Woods,
with.
you're here. Still Live in the Woods, part of the Celine Dion army against Smashing Pumpkins, taking over the fucking rock and roll.
Also, since we're throwing out big names that kind of get overlooked, I'm going to throw out Yanni. Yanni, I think, not really thought of enough in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
definitely
world.
better than Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, come on now. Can we get some Yanni
What about-
out there?
What about Zamfir, the master of the pan flute?
Such great commercials throughout the
Good,
80s.
good point. That's a
Remember
good,
those?
that's
They
a
were
good,
great.
that's a good point, Brian.
But I would put Smashing Pumpkins in the same category as
maybe in
garbage.
30
where
years,
it's
Roscoe.
really good band for a short period of time.
Yeah,
I would not say Hall of Fame worthy.
The thing that kills me about them is they're going to get in, it's going to have them, and it's just like they shouldn't be.
Right.
You know what's interesting is I think that Smashing Pumpkins will probably beat a lot of the bands that we like more. Just because they're more pop sensibilities in some of their songs.
Nirvana was way more influential in the fucking 90s than Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, fuck yeah.
100%.
Yeah, but Nirvana's already in though. So
yeah.
Okay. Well,
now, would you say Nirvana deserves to be there?
I mean,
very short.
In terms of rock and roll, absolutely
not.
not.
Off the grunge movement, it's kind of hard to say no.
So Brian, we did an Alice in Chains versus Nirvana stream 3 weeks back, I guess, 4 weeks back.
That, yep.
And my thoughts then are pretty much still the same now and have been for a while. Is that so? For some reason, Nirvana gets all the credit as like in most people's minds as like the first grunge band. Now, if you're counting Bleach, which I think was almost like an underground album, like very few people knew about Bleach.
Yeah.
I don't even know about Bleach.
So if you put that album aside, Alice in Chains Facelift was a much bigger album way before Nevermind came out. So, I mean, as far as making an impact in the grunge scene, Alice in Chains was first.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand the argument, like why Nirvana is like the big dogs in the whole grunge scene.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that Teen Spirit exists.
Yeah.
That is the song that like just changed the world, I guess you would say. But I mean, like it's a good song. There's no, I don't have any issues with it. I think it's a great song. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I don't think that they're as good a band as Alice in Chains is or Soundgarden.
And I'm a Nirvana fan. I always have been. But I think what it was Nirvana was the more MTV friendly band. That agree. Was the vehicle to get grunge out there and open the door for those other bands who maybe weren't so MTV friendly. And so that's why they get all the credit for that. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, Man in the Box is not a real MTV friendly song.
Right. And Teen Spirit was.
Yeah. Living in Your Own Shit is not
yeah, 100%. 100%.
Even though I think it's the better song, honestly.
Yep.
But, and Teen Spirit's a great song. It's just that, I think the Alice in Chains wrote a lot more songs that were much more interesting in my mind.
Nirvana leaned definitely more towards pop than all those other bands. And they were like I think, in my opinion, the perfect bridge to get to some of those other bands. Like I would say Nirvana, and then Pearl Jam was next, and then that got you to Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and those other bands like that. That's what I think.
Exactly. So Mark here, Northwest Bourbon. Yeah, first grunge band to go gold. Yeah, so and Facelift, that album is phenomenal. I love that album. Yeah, so it's just I feel like Alice in Chains never really got their due.
Yeah.
They were kind of like in the shadow of Nirvana, and just a great band.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I had no
I
idea.
will say,
Damn radio.
I will say that those bands like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, this is not a judgment on who was better, but they have to look at Nirvana as the one who led people to them, mainstream wise. I think that's a fair assessment.
You already know this, but I can't say. Yeah, Dan was definitely on the opposite side of that debate that night when we were going through Nirvana and Alice in Chains.
Yeah, I'm not an Alice in Chains fan. I like, and I guess at the time for me, bands like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden were a little harder. Nirvana was kind of in my wheelhouse, so I liked Nirvana. So
so I think JH makes a fair point here. So like there was 5 bands that kind of got lumped together, right? Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and Stone Temple Pilots, right? Those are like the big 5 grunge bands. But like when you look at those bands, there's only like 2 grunge bands, Nirvana and Pearl Jam. I think those were the 2 most real grunge bands. Soundgarden, I don't consider grunge at all. It's like their own. They kind of have their own sound. I don't know what to really call them, but I wouldn't call them grunge. Alice in Chains certainly lean more heavily into the metal realm. Yes. Then Stone Temple Pilots was almost kind of like a blend between kind of like grunge sounds and almost like still kind of that hair metal glam rock kind of thing going on.
Weak ass music.
Okay, fair enough, Lou. But either way. I mean, 3 of the 5 bands had very different sounds than Pearl Jam and Nirvana to me. So yeah, it's just like it was always odd to me that all these guys got thrown into grunge when I think they're very different.
I don't think STP was ever categorized as grunge. They never really fit that label.
I think people put them in that. They put them in that tent, though, for sure.
Yeah, they were alternative rock. They never really kind of fit the grunge label. They were kind of their own alternative thing. At least before Scott Weiland lost the plot. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't think they are a grunge band, to your point, Jim. But I mean, they certainly got thrown in that when like
they got put there for sure.
Yeah, when DJs would talk about them, or you'd see them on MTV or whatever the case.
Exactly.
They got marketed that way. I don't think they are, but yeah.
And then you have Dan pulling out the forgotten one there, the Melvins.
There you go. And Dan's a Melvin guys. Because STP was from Cali. Yeah, but they had a totally different sound. There you go. Yeah, arena rock. Yeah, that's probably more accurate than what I said. Yeah. I mean, they just kind of like, like if you saw them and Queen together, that would not be like a weird show.
I mean, I think you had it right, Sean. They kind of had their own blend going on there. They were a little bit grunge. They were a little bit arena rock. They were a little bit alternative, and it blended together to make the sound this kind of unique rock sound.
Would say grunge almost killed metal. It's garbage. Fair enough. All right.
Interesting take.
Let's talk about a constant here right quick. Sorry, Richie Z. Stand by. Iron Maiden was metal throughout that whole time.
Okay.
Let's just keep that in mind.
But they weren't good that whole time.
Metal.
Were you thinking something metal from the band road chunk of that thing?
I love Iron Maiden, Lou. You know I love Iron Maiden. But
like
they were not good that whole time.
It's like Judas Priest. Rocked. Ripper with the bed. Rocked because Rob came back.
You can't be talking about Alice in Chains and all these other just crazy joints that aren't metal.
Iron Maiden. Crazy to me that Judas Priest is in there and that Iron Maiden is not.
That makes sense
crazy to me.
Hey, no problem, Lou Woods. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Hey, some people hate grunge. I know several people like that. Todd and Andy, if you're out there, this is to you guys. Like the amount that I've never met anybody that hates grunge more than Andy from 21090. Like Andy hates grunge on a level that I don't even understand.
Dark time for music.
It's pretty amusing, honestly. Jane's Addiction should be in. Yeah.
Is Jane's not in?
They're not, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Totally
I think
cool.
that's a borderline one.
Yeah,
Like, that guy's
They were a
voice.
decent alt
There you go.
rock
There's
band,
no-
but
there's no pilot.
STP. I think they should be in, but again, wait your turn.
I think
What about
STP
the
is
That's a
too
push.
small a window for STP.
Yeah, so I'm okay
Well,
with
they-
STP not
they
being
had an
in.
amazing amount of success.
So
It's
if
true.
SCP gets in before Soundgarden, I'm going to be very
That's
hurt.
bullshit. That would be bullshit. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Like I said, you'll get in, but wait your fucking turn.
Yeah,
Blue Oyster
Uh,
Cult?
No.
yeah. I mean, like they're definitely rock and roll, without a
rock and
doubt.
roll, but I can't make.
Or are they good rock and roll?
I don't have a problem with them. I don't love them. Like they're
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, it's just again, it's like some of the Loudwire list. It's like, okay, yeah, but there's so many bands that need to get in first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like,
then it's still a push.
yeah.
Well, and to me, if you are like, man, they're fine, like that to me tells you right there. Like, for like, my wife is a huge Billy Joel fan. I am not a
Okay.
Billy Joel fan, but she's from downstate. She's from Brooklyn. She grew up with it. Fine, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I think Billy Joel's a great artist. So
Right, and I can respect it. That's what I mean. Like, she'll say I love Billy Joel, and I'm not like meh. Like, I'm like, I respect it. The guy's been making music for 5 decades or whatever, or 6 decades, and he's had all these hits and whatever, and you get it. And like Blue Oyster Cult for me, that's when I look at it, I'm like, meh, I just don't get it. And that to
Yeah.
me is kind of a way to judge it.
yeah. I mean, they're a popular band, but I'm fine with them not being in.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all. not going to keep me awake at night at all. Jay, this is an interesting take here. Nirvana was the only real grunge band out of the bunch. Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and Alice in Chains were all metal.
Pearl Jam, I don't know.
I don't know if Pearl Jam was metal.
No.
They were definitely heavier, though. They were definitely heavier than Nirvana.
I put them in the same space as STP. They kind of like that weird alternative thing, but metal.
Yeah.
No.
and also because Eddie's also from Cali.
Mhm.
You
Didn't
know,
know that.
so yeah,
Nirvana
so-
is the one that leaned more towards poppy sound than any of the others. I think.
I kind of like Days of the New. Didn't listen to Tantric, and I liked Creed in high school. And once I got old enough, I'm like, oh fuck that.
I'm pretty much on the same page as Dan here. Grunge was far better than what followed.
Creed
yeah,
was
so-
freaking terrible. Creed was
I mean,
awful.
and Days of the New has maybe one song that I enjoy listening to, which is that's not a great thing to say about a band, is that you have one song I enjoy. What followed grunge was worse than grunge for sure.
Agreed.
Grunge ruined yeah, without a doubt, man. Like I love in some ways how much Andy hates grunge because he's such a hairband guy. Like you just can't stand him. It's hilarious to me.
Jay, 100% Mountain Song.
Yeah, I just the guy's voice annoys the hell out of
Yeah.
me. Like
It's
I can't-
distinct. It's like Geddy Lee. Like some people love Geddy Lee and Rush,
Yeah.
and some people hate him. You know.
Yeah, I have no problem with people do hate Billy Joel, which is a weird thing. Come on, like Billy Joel's great.
Well, and I'll tell you what, we saw him about 2 months ago. It was a little show, and he was the guy's like in his 70s, maybe close to 80, and he was awesome. Like
5 or something.
amazing show. So I respect him. No matter if you don't like his music or not, you got to respect it.
He's lost probably 50% of his range, but he still put on a great show.
Oh my God, it was great. I was super
Jesus.
impressed with him. Super impressed.
So on the Pearl Jam subject, Black is still my favorite Pearl Jam song, and like one of the few songs I actually still listen to. Jeremy is a great song, but I mean it's been played to death.
Right.
Shut up, Mr. Jinx.
And I love this comment from Dan. Pearl Jam wasn't metal.
They just knew how to play their guitar.
Play their guitar. Unlike Nirvana is what he's saying.
Boo.
Yeah, see, it's easy to say that, make that joke, but if you've ever seen Nirvana Unplugged, you realize they actually were pretty good musicians. They just didn't know it.
It's just that, like, most of the time, it appeared like Kirk just didn't give a shit.
Give a fuck.
He just kind of like did stuff.
Yeah.
I think that was a shtick.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly was.
You know what though? Nobody gets to that level without being a good musician. Period.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, Kirk was a great writer. There's no doubt about it. Like whether like how much he knew music theory and all that kind of stuff, who knows? But I mean, he was a great writer. Absolutely. Like I don't like just because I prefer Alice in Chains and Soundgarden over Nirvana doesn't mean I hate Nirvana.
Exactly.
I mean, there's some great Nirvana songs. I mean, there's several on my playlist, on my rock playlist. I listen to them all the time. But it's just
Nirvana definitely has like 3 great songs.
Okay.
Well, and shit, he wrote that whole album for Courtney Love too. So he had some talent, or at least that's the rumor. He wrote that "Live Through This" album for her.
Creed sucked. Yes. But Mark Tremonti is freaking amazing. Yeah, without a doubt. We can all agree Nickelback deserved to be in it.
100%. Over Iron Maiden.
Funny enough, there is this, because I live in like a tiny town and things are just weird here. There is this fantastic little restaurant inside of our gym. We have one gym in the town. And there's a really great restaurant inside. And so anyway, but whoever chooses the soundtrack or whatever that plays in the gym loves Nickelback, because like every other song is Nickelback. So we like, anytime I'm eating there at the restaurant, it's more just like a grill. We're always talking about how much we hate Nickelback because they just play it all the damn time.
The dudes who were in Nickelback don't even love Nickelback anymore.
No. Like they're good at making popular songs, but no one cares.
The only band worse than Nickelback, and I say this as someone who bought who bought at least a couple of their records, was the band that they spawned, Theory of a Dead Man, which is basically just a Nickelback one.
There you go. Yeah, fair enough. Mark saying, I would not say Pearl Jam was heavier than Nirvana. They both had their heavier and softer songs. Yeah. And Dan also agrees. And I love Nirvana and hate Pearl Jam. See, I'm totally with Dan's hatred of Pearl Jam. There's literally 2 songs from Pearl Jam I enjoy listening to, and outside of that, it's just freaking Eddie Vedder just I don't know what the hell you're saying. So yeah.
I'm with you, Dan. I am a Nirvana fan too.
Yeah. So
Jerry, where are we at on our list here?
we had
Faith No More.
Solo Degradation Trip. Holy shit.
Faith No More is a no.
Faith No More?
Okay.
No.
I mean, so I think they were pretty influential in, granted, genres that a lot of people on this panel don't like. But
they had one big hit, and other than that, who cares?
Well, I mean, so like they kind of spawned the Chili Peppers and kind of new metal in some ways. And regardless of how you feel about that, they still kind of influence those things. Now, you could say it's a bad thing, and that's fair. But Faith No More, certainly pretty influential. Now, do they deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I don't think so.
Again, long line ahead of you guys. So
it's a very long line ahead of them. Maybe one day, but it's going to take a long time.
They're like when they run out of really good bands to put in, and they'll go to Faith No More.
Nope.
So totally agree with Mark here. Jerry Cantrell had great riffs, and Lane and Cornell. I mean, Lane Staley and Chris Cornell are two of my favorite vocalists of all time.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Just
Chris Cornell could blow, man.
yeah,
I mean,
especially
just
Chris,
crazy.
man, I
Yep.
miss that dude.
Power.
And just-
And like I said, you know, even Jerry Cantrell, I think, is underappreciated because his solo stuff, Degradation Trip, what a fantastic record. Totally underrated.
I mean, and Chris too. I mean, Chris is a great songwriter. I mean, like his
Yep.
solo stuff, wherever he goes.
Oh yeah,
Just
wherever he went, he was
great.
good.
Yeah. I freaking miss Chris. Yeah. This is fed up. I keep looking up and thinking Tommy Chong is on.
Tommy Chong's over here on the right. You may like Tommy Chong, the horrifying truth about CBD. It's like an ad or something, but he's like
It is a weird ad. It's like a really weird ad to have.
yeah.
Dead Man sucks so hard. I think we all agree on that. That's one thing we can all unify on is how much Theory of a Dead Man sucks.
Terrible.
All right. ABBA was the Nickelback.
Oh, come on. Okay, that's not
I
fair to
disagree.
ABBA.
I disagree.
No, he's got to poke fun at everybody. All right. All the post grunge bands slapped together Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and made this horrific bastard child. Yeah, you know, I can't. Although not as good as either one of those things, Alice in Chains or Pearl Jam, but absolutely not one song. I think he's talking about Faith No More.
Yeah, no.
I honestly have no problem with Nickelback. It's not something I really listen to, but it could be a hell. I agree with it. I mean, yeah. So, like Missy Elliott, for instance, Missy Elliott is worse than Nickelback, personally.
And arguably, Nickelback will get in someday. Again, they're way down the list, but you know what's going to happen eventually at some point once they finally turn up to the top.
You know, I don't have hatred for Nickelback. I just put them in the box with like freaking Gin Blossoms and like Better Than Ezra and all those shitty bands.
That's a really good group to throw them in. I think that's pretty on. Yeah.
If they all got on a bus and drove off a cliff, I'd be fine with it.
Oh,
I feel like that. Like there's probably a tour going somewhere that involves all of those bands.
Yes,
or at least it's happened in the past or something.
Yes, and they all deserve each other.
Yeah. Faith No More. Dan saying Faith No More is cool, but another band whose children really suck. Yeah. I kind of have to like there's so many like new metal and what alternative rock and
like Limp Bizkit and
like so much stuff.
Metal.
Like the sound that Faith No More produced and the influence they had produced so much suck that you kind of have to be like, guys, you kind of ruined a thing.
Thanks, Faith No More.
But Faith No More is pretty awesome.
I hate to admit this. I'm embarrassed to admit this because Limp Bizkit sucked so hard. But one of my most shameful moments as a college student was the day I stole a Limp Bizkit CD from Ames. Sorry, Kmart.
That is something, Jim. That's something I would not expect from you.
It was the freaking remix album. I can't remember what the hell it was called.
Wait, is that the one? Is that the one that had the rolling remix with DMX on it?
Yes.
Oh God.
And no, of course I know Mr. Drinking not in yet. It's gonna be a cold day in hell when they get in.
You know what? I gotta say, I used to bump the shit out of that song in my freaking CRX. Since we're all admitting things we're embarrassed about, that's
time to come clean, Sean.
That freaking rolling remix with DMX, I would play the shit out of that thing. Anyway, all right.
Now, who's next on our list?
Yeah, let's keep rolling down the list here. Sammy Hagar solo.
Oh, that's tough. No, next.
No, I think we just keep.
I like him, but his whole career is not that good.
Yeah,
it's hard because do you include the Van Hagar stuff in there too?
Well,
like,
was he? I mean, I assume Van Halen's in. Was he inducted with them?
I mean, so Van Halen's in. I don't know.
I don't
know if he's in with them.
You'd have to, because with Black Sabbath, like Dio's not in with them, so I would assume David Lee Roth is in with Van Halen, but who knows?
He's in with Van Halen.
Okay,
so I think we're
yes.
good
Okay,
there. I don't think it's a warrant conduction.
Yeah, no.
Who is this dude? Oh,
the Melvins. So, you know, Dan mentioned them earlier. Yeah, probably like as it says right there, the Godfathers of grunge. You know, if I'm not the biggest Melvins fan, I understand the significance of them.
Water.
What's that?
I was looking into the comments and Still Living in the Woods said, I'm sure we can all agree that Limp Bizkit sucks. My millennial wife loved that damned Hot Dog Water album with chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water.
Yeah, hot dog flavored water.
Yeah, man.
What a terrible name for a record.
It really is. I mean, why would you put this chocolate starfish? Why? Why? Just don't. We all know what that means. Why are you doing that? Like, well, don't no.
I just realized
because they're edgy and cool, Sean. They were bad together. Boys.
Like, why are we talking about buttholes and penises as the name of your album? Like, don't do that.
Northwest Bourbon Mark, you have an excellent point. You know, the 90s was a different time.
Yeah, so I agree, Medium Ugly. So
things were different.
Now,
as hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah. Now, I have gotten a lot of hate for my Korn love. That's fine. But Korn started a thing. Like, Faith No More kind of did a thing, but then Korn absolutely did a thing. Like, Korn started, I mean, they were really the first true nu metal band. Now,
we can blame them for Limp Bizkit?
I mean, actually, yes, because they discovered them.
Oh, come on, you assholes.
So, but that aside, I have no problem with Korn on their own. I don't like Limp Bizkit that much, but I'm good with Korn. So, because that first album that Blind is on, and Lies, and Ball Tongue, and Chutes and Ladders, I freaking love that album still to this day. You guys can give me all the hate you want, don't care.
Ball what?
Ball Tongue.
Say that one more time. Ball
Tongue.
Okay, I just wanted to get that out there on a record. That's cool.
Oh, fucking Stain. Yeah, it's all Korn's fault. Korn brings us Limp brings us Stain brings us Aaron Lewis nonsense. And as a Massachusetts resident, all I can say is I am so sorry for Aaron Lewis. He was cool in Stain and then turned into a complete utter douche.
I mean, I guess it all depends on how you view things, I suppose. Yeah, when you're 12, Limp Bizkit is pretty cool.
Exactly.
Grow out, which for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Either way, regardless of all the other things that followed, I have no problem with Korn. I know Lou is not a fan. You made that pretty clear. Yeah, but I quite like, especially early Korn, not the later stuff. The later stuff it's hard to listen to, honestly. But that first album is pretty good. Anyway, we're getting off track again because
we got to the Melvins and we're all like, quit talking about someone else. And Dan's like, you fuckers.
Ministry.
I'm fine with him not being in.
Same.
Next.
Like it's. Yeah.
I forgot about Saliva. Jeez.
Good, not great.
Joe Satriani.
Interesting one. I feel like he deserves to be in, but you really have to put the argument together correctly. Because I mean, he's done a lot. He's worked with a lot of bands. He's clearly a talented guitarist. But building an argument for him as a solo artist,
not rock and roll.
Are you kidding me, Satriani? What is he if he's not rock and roll?
Joe Satriani.
Yeah,
exactly.
Joe, like amazing guitarist. There's not a ton of stuff that I enjoy listening to from him. That's kind of my issue. So also Jay says the Korn rocked. True story. I thought Stain was good with their first album, but then it was a lot of downhill after the first album. Joe Satriani is disqualified due to his work in Chickenfoot. Fair enough.
So does that mean Sammy Hagar is disqualified for the solo act too?
I think we already decided he was disqualified. So there's Korn. We already talked about them.
Korn, just zoom right by. Nobody cares if they're not in.
Styx, we talked about them as well. I think we all agree that they should probably be in. Dead Kennedys.
I don't know enough to discuss them.
I don't.
So that's a band that's kind of like the forerunner of like a subgenre. So maybe they should be there, but again, it's like how deep do you want to go with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, Dan, on Joe Satriani. That's exactly how I feel about it. It's like, he's really good, but also I really can't listen to this. So like it's really amazing to watch him play, but also just like I don't care to listen to it at all.
Yeah.
Like Surfing with the Alien is probably his biggest song. And it's okay to listen to. It's not great.
I think Dan pretty much nailed the Dead Kennedys here. If Joe Biafra shows up at the Rock Hall of Fame, he's finished. So they're not getting in.
Well, I mean, also like it's just,
It'd be weird.
They're so like even in bands that I appreciate, they're still kind of far down the list to me. Like, I don't know, it's fine. Jane's Addiction, a band that's been mentioned a few times tonight. I don't care at all about them, but I know a lot of people do.
I like Jane's Addiction. They're not a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame worthy band.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. You got to be objective about it. You can be a fan, but you got to be real about the fact of, is this a Hall of Fame caliber band? Jane's is not a Hall of Fame caliber.
Yeah. So fair point, JH. Yeah. Most people don't know who the Dead Kennedys are.
True.
Which is kind of a problem if you want to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So probably not going to happen. Jane's Addiction, more well known. It just, to Brian's point, I don't know that they're of that caliber. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Jethro Tull, another band, another person, actually, I should say, it was mentioned earlier.
Tull's a band.
Yeah. I think he probably should be in.
He should be in. I think they're kind of unfairly stuck on the. Yeah, you'll get him a 8-year turn, and I think that whole debacle with the Grammys has hurt them in this cause, because now they're kind of like, do we really want to touch them because everyone's going to play us again after what we did in 1986 with the Grammys?
Although, gotta say that this picture that they chose is pretty suspect in itself.
Codpiece. It's glorious codpiece.
What is going on here? But that aside,
Ian Anderson's crutch.
I think Toll should absolutely be in. I can barely talk at this point. But yeah, them getting in seems pretty unlikely for all the points that Jim pointed out. They've kind of pissed off the establishment, and that's all that matters these days.
No fault of their own. They didn't ask to get that Grammy. They're like, huh?
No, yeah.
I think they'll get in eventually, but it's going to take a while. Hopefully they get in before he dies.
Bro is packing heat. Look at that codpiece. It's glorious.
Jesus Christ.
You know, Shred, I feel the same way, especially about the lighting myself on fire part. Yeah, I don't know about the crack part, but definitely the lighting myself on fire.
I mean,
I don't mind. I don't mind Perry Farrell's voice. They've got some good tunes. Like I'm okay with Jane's Addiction, but I know it's not for everybody. I have friends who can't stand listening to Geddy Lee either, and it's like, well, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but they're good, I think.
So I would say here's the difference in my mind, Brian. So I think the musicianship even though I barely said that correctly at all, in Rush is far superior to Jane's Addiction.
Insane.
So I appreciate that a lot more about Rush. And Geddy Lee to me is less annoying to listen to. So yeah. So, but I mean, just on a pure musicianship standpoint, Rush is way like leagues above. Not even on. Yeah. So
100%. I saw Rush on their last 2 tours. They came to Buffalo on their last 2 tours, and they were. You could not believe the musicianship, the way, and like watching Neil Peart play drums was insane. Yeah. Like, my God, incredible.
It's not a, it's not just happenstance that he's usually either 1 or 2 on best drummers of all time, depending on what list you look at. He's phenomenal.
Crazy.
I'm gonna chat Shred right quick because Shredder said it righteous. Sometimes you just want to set yourself on fucking fire and go nuts, and absolutely, that is the intention. That is the goal. That's what metal is all about.
But I mean, Jane's Addiction isn't metal, though.
No, it's not. It's not metal.
Okay, but I got you though. Yeah, I love this. JH Toll beat Metallica for the heavy metal Grammy. That says it all.
But again, it's not fair to hang that around Toll's neck. They didn't ask for that. I'm sure they were like, "What the fuck?"
So Dan likes Jane's Addiction. I like some Toll. There you go. Dave Navarro wants to fight all y'all right now. Dave Navarro is too attractive for his own good. I'm just going to throw that out there and just let the panel just soak that in. I like how there's just silence, just not even any kickback, so everybody knows that it's true.
I want to remind everybody that sometimes you need to hear the sound of the Sasquatch getting raped, and that's when you know what metal sounds like.
That's a fair point, Lou.
Because what are we all here for?
So we interrupt this broadcast for let's see here.
Sasquatch.
Taking a turn.
I'm not going Sasquatch. I'm going demon dogs from hell being raped
if
by.
If Fred was here, he would advocate for the Sasquatch.
I know he would, but I don't care. He's not here. If Shorty wants to pop on, then he can request it.
Fred, let's go.
Let's see. Death. Where am I going here? I want to do. I'll just.
Jigs, I have a lot of people who feel that way about Rush, like Geddy Lee's voice really grates on them, but they still respect their musicianship. And I agree. Like all 3 of them, like Geddy Lee on bass, Alex Lifeson on guitar, and Neil Peart on drums.
Neil Peart is amazing.
Peak musicianship, 100%.
All right, I realize I'm not sharing.
I was amazed by like the drummer for Rush. Like he just fucking like when I saw him like 20 years
crazy.
Ago, blew my fucking mind.
One of the greatest drummers of all time.
This guy was like intense. He was all about it. It was absolutely wild.
I've seen 2 drummers. I've seen 2 drummers in my life that really blew my mind. I saw Neil Peart from Rush and Stuart Copeland from The Police, just doing things that like they don't even think about it and they're just doing it. Like they're hitting shit behind them, on the side of them, not even looking at it. Like, and that to me is like you are like just so tuned in to what you're doing, and it was incredible to watch.
Dude, it's a rare experience where like like the vocalist and the guitarist, like they're in the background.
Yep.
Because the drummer is just so fucking intense.
Just stealing the show.
You can't see anything else. It's wild. And it's amazing. It's great to see.
Tommy Lee blew my mind, but not for drumming. Just saying.
I think we can all agree with that. Can't we, gentlemen?
Geddy Lee's voice is hypnotic. Make everything come. Okay, fair enough. So, guys, we will interrupt this discussion briefly for some true death metal by a band named Death. So it kind of makes sense. So this is the first song from the first album from Death, and he's going to say "die" quite a few times in the beginning.
Okay. Do it.
I love this scream. So damn good. Here it comes. Oh yeah. Get it, Chuck. You know, I've been so disappointed in this this night because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame sucked. This makes me feel better already.
Does this qualify as your Cookie Monster medal here?
So I won't play the whole song because I know this isn't for everybody. But no, so like Chuck to me is, even though definitely death metal, like the beginning of death metal, basically in my mind.
Chuck Mangione or somebody else?
Definitely not Chuck. No, Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck Mangione death metal on the flugelhorn.
No, so here we go. Some actual metal. Chuck Schuldiner, like just like the pinnacle of death metal to me. And not just that, but like as a vocalist. Well, here, I'll just you guys tell me. Now I know this may not be for everybody, but I understand that. But just appreciate the high notes that he hits in this song right here, and compare that to, say, Rob Halford from Judas Priest. Have that kind of thought in mind. Now he's covering a Priest song here, so this is Painkiller, which is pretty famous Priest song. But just listen to the vocals, if nothing else. Anyway, yeah, so I would put Chuck up against basically any vocalist that's ever existed.
None of this makes Phil Anselmo any less great.
True.
Put it out there.
I mean, like Phil on the album before Cowboys, something metal. What's it called? Shred Nose. Power metal. On Power Metal and then on Cowboys, Phil hits
nobody knows Power Metal. Nobody knows anything before Cowboys.
Okay, well, like Phil hits some notes that like very few people have ever hit. Like when you listen to his vocals on Heresy, like Phil is like in this freaking stratosphere, just ridiculous. Yeah, as Shred said here, that's some scrote grabbing highs. R.I.P. Chuck. Yeah, man. Like there's like very few guys ever that have been able to do that. Like pull off that level of just crazy ass. Like Chuck and like early Phil and Dio and Rob. Like like they're just next level performers. But Power Metal Rules should be re-released. Yeah, man. I like, why is it not on like Spotify and Amazon? Come on now. like Phil needs to get on the ball and tell whoever decides that stuff to like get it on the freaking streaming services.
I would say that we need to not listen to the garbage that's put out there on the streaming services. I have my Amazon shit, and I canceled the Amazon Ultimate, where you can get everything, all you want, all day, every day. And I turned it on now, and it's fucking terrible. They give you the shit that you can hear. They restrict a lot of the songs. You can hear like one hit off the album. You can't hear the rest of the shit. You can't have playlists. You can't have anything. It's fucking terrible.
Here, well, let's before we get super late, we're already quite late in the evening, but before we get even later, I should say, let's finish out this list here. Let's burn. I don't think we have that many to go, and then we'll close out. So Jethro Tull, Bad Brains, yeah, I don't know.
Skip.
Scroll right past.
King Crimson.
Yeah.
You know, probably should be in there. But the Nuge, you know,
probably.
Yeah. Like there's not that many Nugent songs that I really love listening to. There's like 2 or 3. Outside of that, don't listen to him a whole lot. But you know, solid.
He's a great Texan and a great American.
Yeah, the Pixies.
As a Pixies fan, absolutely not. No.
Okay, and I agree. Uriah Heep. Now, this is a band that like nobody really talks about, but really influential on early metal. Yeah, so like when I was doing previous videos, yeah, and Nugent is not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame already.
Is King Diamond in?
I really doubt it, because they're a metal band for sure, and there's only 3 metal bands in, and that's Sabbath, Metallica, and Priest. So yeah, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has not been kind to metal. Uriah Heep though was really influential. Like, I mean, up there with like influence-wise was like Sabbath. I mean, like they kind of pioneered the metal sound. But yeah, nobody really ever talks about them. So, but yeah, I mean, because they're so unknown, probably not.
Yeah.
Bad Company, we talked about them earlier. I think they should definitely be in, but they're not. Bryan Adams.
Nope.
Don't care if he is or not. Don't know how rock he actually is. I know he's had a lot of top 10s, as this says here, but whatever. Oasis, also don't care.
Nope.
This is all fucking craziness.
Absolutely not. Oasis.
And there we go. That's the end of. Is this a really old Whoopi Goldberg? Anyway,
holy shit!
Show these photos. That it makes more sense than any of those previous entries being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
All right, we're gonna kill that, and so we're done with that. All right, yeah. So that was it. That was the snubs that didn't make it in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Pixies rule, says JH. No on Bryan Adams. I agree. There you go, Brian.
You know what? You can like a band like the Pixies. I am a Pixies fan. The Pixies are a good band, but there's a big difference between liking a band and a band being good and a band being Rock and Roll Hall of Fame worthy. And the Pixies are not a band that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're a good band, but not Hall of Fame.
Frederick says a band being American.
Yeah, well, Bryan Adams being a Canadian, I don't know if that shouldn't disqualify him, but he's not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame worthy either. I mean, he had a few good songs, but you know, he's Bryan Adams, right? He's not Billy Joel, he's not the Beatles. It's not the I say this all the time, and I say this about sports too. It's not the Hall of Really Good. It's the Hall of Fame. It should be the best. Yes, exactly. Commandant. Like top of their game. And Bryan Adams to me is just another pop star of the 80s, and those, especially in that time period, were so disposable. And Bryan Adams did not do anything that distinguishes himself from anybody else. So I would say no. But that's just my opinion. Shred. Lots of Rush. Too Late. Rush is in, and so are the band. See, to me, Pinch, Rush, I think is deserving. I think those are three dudes.
Oh,
who
I agree.
made
No,
first.
I said that because
sorry.
I said that because he was saying I don't care if there's non-American bands in the Hall of Fame, just no Canadians. And my response was, yeah, Too Late. Rush is already in there, and they're Canadian, and so are the band, and 4/5 of the band are Canadian. So Too Late, Redwood,
Okay.
Canadians in there.
Right. Rush is about as Canadian as it gets, but those are three dudes at the height of their musicianship, like for sure. They are, all three of them were great at what they did.
Yeah, I definitely throw out the no non-American shit, but absolutely, man. Like Pinch Hitter, Rush is the fucking truth.
Oh yeah,
100%.
I mean,
no argument here. I'm
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We want good fucking rock and roll music. Let's just have good fucking rock and roll music. Everything else aside, everything else means nothing. Rock and roll.
Shred shouting out Triumph. I love it. Lay it on the line, baby. Rick Emmett.
Dude.
Yeah, man.
Great. That
so
dude.
After all the talk about Jane's Addiction, while you guys were listening to that death metal, I went and pulled up David Navarro's like one and only single, Rexall from like 2001. Holy God, that song is terrible.
I didn't even know that Dave Navarro had a solo career. So
yeah, he had one album he released in 2001, and then had one single off of it, Rexall, and the first two lines of the fucking chorus are, "There is no love left in your eyes, there is love between your thighs." Thanks, Dave. Well done.
I mean, accurate statements on both accounts.
In fairness, he was dating Carmen Electra, so
yeah, he was.
Moving on.
Good for Dave. Good for him.
Yeah, man. Anyway, so we're going to close out here in a few, but we have not played a whole lot of music tonight. So we're going to go around the horn here, and you guys each give me a request. Jim, starting with you. What do we want to hear? And it better be freaking rock and roll, Jim.
Oh, it'll be rock and roll. Why don't one of the other guys go? Let me think for a minute. I wasn't expecting.
Okay, all right. Brian, you're up next. If you have a request.
All right. So why don't we go with some Iron Maiden?
Okay.
Run to the Hills.
I'm good with that. I would say everybody else is as well. All right, here we go. Finally, some rock and roll.
Yes. It had to be some.
Except for I'm
rock.
not presenting, so let's fix that and start over. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
There we go. Yeah, I doubt amount of Aren't is ever going to make it in, but
This is still fucking good.
Across the sea, he brought us pain and misery. He killed our tribes.
This song is just like bam, 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 like great.
For his own need, we fought him hard. We fought him.
The vocals are amazing.
Out on the plains, we gave him hell, but when it came, so much for free. Oh, will we ever be set free? Riding through those clouds and barren
For sure,
wastes,
Tread.
galloping hard on the plains, chasing the redskins back to their holes, fighting them at their own game. Murder for freedom, the stab in the back.
This vocal right here. Great.
Run for your lives. Run to the hills. Run for your lives. Soldier blue in the barren wastes, hunting and killing's a game. Raping the women and wasting the men, the only good Indians are tame. Selling them whiskey and taking their gold, enslaving the young and destroying the old. Run to the hills. Run for your lives. 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 Run to the hills. Run for your
Big finish.
Yeah, man. Heck yes.
Wow. Right?
Yeah, I got
Bruce
mine.
Dickinson, baby. Great. I will tell you, there is a band. They just retired this year. They're called the Town Pants, and they're a little like Celtic rock band from Vancouver. And they did a cover of this with like the fiddles and the freaking tin whistle and stuff of Run to the Hills, and it is freaking phenomenal. So you should check that out. Great stuff.
You know what's even more phenomenal? Iron Maiden original. It's all fucking phenomenal.
Frig, yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great,
good.
like his vocals, especially in that finish, is just great. And that guitar in the middle is just phenomenal.
Yeah, man. So now we're going to listen to some more Bruce Dickinson, him solo.
Yes.
Chemical Wedding. Thank you for the request, Lou. And then, Jim, you were up next, man.
Okay.
In the darkness, the raven's head. In the courtyard, clothed in fear, I see gates that are opening. There's only one way out of here. Daylight has come. Daylight has come. See these twisted sons and daughters riding slowly in Satan's mire. If you only could see the visions, trembling world I now despise. Crimson comes. He knows the weakness that you can't fight, the stone of night that weighs you down. If you only could see the visions, his hand is death if you take it now. As you scream into the web of silence, there is nothing that can save you now. Rise awake, the king in crimson comes. Arise awake, the king in crimson comes. Arise awake, the king in crimson comes. Arise awake, the king in crimson comes. As you scream into the web of silence, there is nothing that can save you now. Rise awake, the king in crimson comes. Arise awake, the king in crimson comes. Arise awake, the king in crimson comes. Arise awake, the king in crimson comes. To your window I come. At your window I come.
All right. No.
Dude, Sean, man, I appreciate you playing that. I know I kind of troll you over the last few weeks with the the Jesus on the dashboard and the clutch and everything, but this is a good one. Like the Bruce Dickinson, the OG metal, it's so good. It makes
I
haven't even fired up the bowl yet, but I love it. It takes me back to a place where metal was music and music was music and all this other bullshit. We're not trying to conflate Taylor Swift with fucking metal and all the craziness that's going on. It's just good fucking music, man. I love it.
I mean, and for the record, Lou, like I don't have a problem with Clutch. Like I don't find them to be outstanding. Like that's my own.
Oh, they're not outstanding.
Yeah.
Like when I got high, everything is outstanding, and so Clutch
That's
gets elevated. At that point. You know.
Fair enough, man.
Who's got a better metal voice than Bruce Dickinson, man? It's just
No one.
Really, like just bam, he just hits it. It's great.
And he broke away from Iron Maiden and all the bullshit. He did his own shit solo, and he did it better than everyone else.
Yeah,
solo, so
great
good, man.
stuff. Great stuff.
It's fucking amazing.
Like giving a run for his money.
Jim, what do you got for us, man?
Well, since we were talking about Thin Lizzy, I decided we kind of go down that path, although not directly.
Okay.
Barry Moore, Over the Hills and Far Away.
Whoa.
I don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
All right.
Now the question will be, will Amazon Music have it? Did I spell it
I would
right?
hope so.
There we go. Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, Gary Moore, underappreciated. Like, very few people talk about Gary Moore as a guitarist. He's freaking phenomenal. Yeah, so great selection, Jim. Now for this, folks, I'm just going to do a couple more requests, and then we'll close out here in just a few.
This pistol had been found.
So JH is going with the Pixies. Where's my mom? Okay. And then Medium Ugly just said Amon Amaran, but didn't give me a song. So, and also, folks, check in. If you're JH Medium Ugly, if you're still here, then let me know. Otherwise, I'm not playing your song.
A prisoner's life for him will be. He knew that it would cost him dear, but yet he dare not say just where he'd be on that fateful night. A secret it must stay. He had to fight back tears of rage. His heart beat like a drum. But with the wife of his best friend, he spent his final night of freedom. Over the hills and far away, he swears he will return one day. Far from the mountains and the seas, back in her arms again he will be. Over the hills and far away.
I got to check out, guys, before I just pass out here on stream.
Hey, Brian, thank you so much for hanging out, man. I much appreciated.
Thanks for having me. I had a blast, man.
Awesome, man. Cool.
Good hanging out with you, bro. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, great rock chat. Cheers to you, brother. And we'll see you on the next one, man.
All right, man. Bye.
Man, listen to that guitar. Gary Moore, freaking ridiculous. Jay is here. Medium Ugly not checking in, though. Which is disappointing because I wanted to play some of Amon Amaran.
Sure as the rivers reach the seas, back in his arms again she'll be. Over the hills and far away, he swears he will return one day. As sure as the rivers reach the seas, back in his arms is where she'll be. Over the hills and far away, she prays he will return one day.
All right. Great selection there, Jim. Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. JH has. Okay. Okay. So Medium Ugly is here. You know what's your? Oh, okay. I see now. Talking about complete. So Jay is next up with the Pixies. Well, I guess actually, technically, Medium Ugly got his in first. Now that I'm looking back at the list, so Amon Amaranthe, which freaking yes.
I'm probably gonna duck out too. I'm getting pretty tired. It's been a long day.
Fair enough, Jim. Thank you for hanging out tonight. Much appreciated. Thank you for all your throwing your thoughts in, man. Yeah, good stuff. Cheers, Jim. Have a good one, man.
Cheers, Lou.
Jim, cheers. Good to hang out with you, and have a good one, bro.
See you later.
All right, where's the song I'm looking for? I think it's on this album. No. Crap. Shit. Okay, let's see here. See y'all. No, that's not what I want. This guy. No. I guess this, right? I feel like that's it. That's it. Thank you for the request, Medium Ugly. Much appreciated.
Raise your swords up high, see the blackbirds fly. Let them hear your rage, show no fear. Attack!
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that, man. Your request is up next, and then we will close out the show.
Draw your sword to side, hear the blackbirds cry. Let them feel your hate, show no fear.
Hell yeah, man. Freaking love that song. Anyway, last request of the night. Pixies, Where Is My Mind? Thank you, JH, for the request. Much appreciated. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out tonight. Been a blast. Great conversations. Any Arch Enemy fans? Good question, Lou.
No, it's just me. Carry on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like Arch Enemy fairly well. That was cool. Yeah, so, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Thank you for all the conversation. Thank you for all the thoughts, input. Great show. Much appreciated. All the support. I think this is the highest attendance we've ever had on the Mash of Metal, actually. So it's been a killer night, man. Good to see everybody hanging out. So yeah, last request again. The Pixies. Where Is My Mind? Thank you again, and thank you for that, Lou. Yeah, much appreciated. If you want to become a patron, if you're seeing this in the past, future, present, whenever. Yeah, there's the links. Thank you, Lou, for sharing that. And yeah, come become a patron, and then you can have more input onto what we do and on this thing, and also Whiskey Wars and everything else. So, without further ado, let's close out the show with the Pixies. Where Is My Mind? And thank you again, everybody. And after this, we will close the show out. So, cheers, everybody, and have a good night.
Hit the links to learn about whiskey, hear good metal. Do it right now. Click it.
Appreciate that, Lo. Cheers, everybody. Is this not turned up all the what's? Okay, no, yeah. It's a good one, man.
With your feet on the air, your head on the ground. Try this trick and spin it. Yeah. Your head will collapse if there's nothing in it. And you'll ask yourself, where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Way out in the water, see it swimming. I was swimming in the Caribbean. Animals were hiding behind the rock, except for little fish. But they told me swear it's trying to talk to me. So I went, where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Way out in the water, see it swimming. With your feet
Good stuff. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you for all the support, hanging out. Cheers, all. We are out.